Alright, hello everyone! Welcome to Ludo History, and welcome to the end of year celebration. Isn't this charming? We've got so many history games to talk about today, because we're going through everything we played on the channel and off the channel in 2023. But there are too many games for me to do on my own, so we've invited some friends. So say hello to Kate and Alex from the Save Ancient Studies Alliance.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Amazing. There's going to be more people tuning in throughout. I know GeneralSte is going to be stopping by a bit later. And hopefully we'll get some more folks tuning in later in the evening coming and joining us. But basically, here's the plan. I've got a tier list. We're going to go through all the new games we played. And we're going to hang out. We're going to have a great time. And also, I see everyone's having a great time with those emotes. So, Merry Christmas... Merry Christmas from me to all of you, courtesy of Space Panini doing some incredible animation work. We have new emotes, including a spinning cat from the Kingdom of Khmer, 13th century Thai cat pot that goes spin. We've got a depressed looking frog from the 19th century Japan that is now a pop cat. And we have a fish plate from the 4th century BC that has the most soulless looking octopus on the planet. So thank you, Space Panini, for the brand new animated emotes. Twitch gave us animated emote slots. Turns out that is good. Aren't they great?
I mean, you know, they made their own bed.
Look at that spin! Look at that cat go spin!
I love that cat, but I'm partial to the octopus because the meta fish plates are my favorite. I love them so much.
Amazing. You don't have Christmas yet, but it was the feast day of Saint Nicholas. Close enough. And that means four 5-course meals in 2 days. That's a lot of food, Jakista. I'm jealous. I just have punch. I have Christmas punch, and it's great. I was going to get Glühwein, but I realized I don't drink enough to go through an entire bottle of Glühwein before I have to travel.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are both of you doing today? And also, introduce yourselves. For all my folks who may not know who you are, take a moment here, introduce yourselves, let folks know what you're about, what you do here on Twitch.
Who goes first? You go first. I go first.
Oh, you go first. I'm drinking tea.
Okay. All right. Hi. I'm Alex. I'm one part of the Save Ancient Studies Alliance or SASA streaming team. We do weekly live streams on Friday at 2 p.m. EST or 8 p.m. if you're watching from Europe. And otherwise, I'm a PhD student in Belgium where I studied the characterization of Greco-Roman themed or just mythological games in general. So like how characters are represented, how it compares to source material, but what is new and what isn't, and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that's me. So most of the games I'll be talking about are that I talked about with Aiden will be like more mythologically inspired, I guess.
Hell yeah.
And hi, I am the disembodied voice of Dr. Kate Miniti. I am an archaeologist. I am the other part of the Sasa streaming team. I've been streaming with Sasa, unfortunately, on Saturday mornings. Unfortunately, because I've been separated from Alex. And I am a recovering Egyptologist, so of course we were streaming Total War Pharaoh. In real life, when I'm not streaming games, I am an archaeologist on the field. I work in Sicily, and I'm currently teaching art history at several universities. And I am the leading expert on Egyptian monsters in video games. So yeah, that is that. Also a tea enjoyer, so I always drink tea on stream.
Heck yes. I know, right? Aren't they cool? My chat says whoa, which is true. Because it turns out we got cool folks in our circles, and it's great. So, I know we're going to get more folks in a little bit. Ooh, actually, looks like
there you go.
We just got one. Hello. Steve, can you hear
Hello.
us yet? Hello, hello.
I can, but I came in and I was like, I said it to the guys before I came in. I was like, guys, I don't know how balanced this shit's all gonna be. So just let's go in there and suss it out a
We're
bit.
doing it live. Looks like you're good on my end, so let's. I guess. So hello. To all of Steve's
Hello.
folks. So on your end, hello. And to all of my folks on my end, everyone say hi to GeneralSte.
Hey everybody, do you know what I'm gonna do, Adam? I'm actually gonna. Are you cool if I restream you on my channel so that people
Rock and roll.
can see it?
Yeah.
That okay with you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sweet, sweet. I'm just gonna open up your Twitch and I'll put you full screen, just so that people know who we're talking to and they can go show you love.
Amazing.
And oh, sorry, somebody just did a goat scream live there for me. Fuck off.
I mean, who amongst us hasn't?
Yeah.
Hi everybody, by the way, if I haven't chatted to you, I'm Steve, so it's good to finally meet y'all. And I'll post all your links, your Twitch links into the chat as well, so that the guys know all about you, and that historical communities are rare on Twitch, but they're often a loving bunch. So I'll make sure to give you appropriate shout outs.
Exactly, and same thing for folks here. So for my folks, Steve also streams all the time. Is your background's what, classical archaeology?
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me just get you up on my screen here. Guys, there's Ludo, and Ahmed and Athindu are there as well. You can see all usernames there, so there you go. Welcome on in. I can see your chat there too. Oh yeah, wave to the camera. I love it. Yeah, so I'm a Roman archaeologist. I specialize in intercultural communication and identity development in the Republican Roman world. But I kind of basically just anything classical from the Bronze Age up until the late Empire is within my wheelhouse. So yeah.
Incredible.
See, we need to talk because I also do identity and material culture in the Iron Age Mediterranean.
I love it. I love it. Do you do identity development as a socio-political identity development, or do you do it as individual like gender identity?
I do identity in the context of glocalization in Iron Age Sicily, looking at Egyptian stuff in any settlement in Sicily. That was my dissertation.
Fantastic. My master's is on, or my master's dissertation, because I haven't written my PhD one. My master's dissertation is on intercultural exchange and identity development in Magna Graecia. So,
oh my God! Yeah, that we definitely need to talk. Yeah,
we definitely do. And my PhD topic is on hopefully if I get the acceptance letter in the next month, will be on evidence of identity diffusion along Mediterranean trade routes, select Mediterranean trade routes.
Yeah, hit me up because I got bibliography for you.
Oh, I love it. We're 2 minutes into a stream and I've already got a page with the bibliography. That, folks, right there is history people interacting in a nutshell.
This is why we invited folks on. Honestly, this is like half the point, because there's so few of us that all do streaming stuff, and y'all are lovely, and getting everyone in the same spot does not happen nearly enough.
Yeah, 100%. Would it be cool just for my guys, because I came in a little bit late, would you all mind saying what you do for my gang too? Would that be okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. So for all of Steve's folks, my name's Adam. I stream under the handle Ludo History. So I'm a historian by training. I'm the odd one out here in the not archaeologists. So I do basically, my background is cultural heritage and museum studies and medieval Scandinavian studies. Specifically, right, for anyone super in the weeds, 13th and 14th century environmental and literary history, but that is way off in the corner, where there's like 4 people total in the world who work on it. Realistically, though, on the channel, I do a little bit of everywhere and everywhen. So I've got, in the last year, I've done everything from God of War Ragnarok for Norse mythology, through Chancellor for linguistics, through World War I history. Currently, I've been doing a lot of Last Train Home, so Russian Civil War. And just a little bit of everywhere, a little bit of everything. 2024 is going to be a lot of Year of the Weeb. The Ludo History Weeb arc is going to go full swing, and we're going to do Japanese history the whole year through.
Oh, I love it. Okay, yes. Right. No, that's superb is what that is.
Yeah, Okami starting off with Okami in January.
Yeah, that is fabulous.
Yeah.
Are you going to go, like, So are you going to touch on like Boshin War and that whole period, like the industrialization of Japan and everything? You go with that whole thing?
I'm really hoping to. Right, because I think it's in February. Team Ninja's new game, Rise of the Ronin, is going to come out, and that's late Bakumatsu into the Meiji Restoration. So, hopefully we'll get to use that as an entry point to go talk about some of the industrialization and how that changes things.
Yeah, that's fab, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah, how far I'm actually going to get, I don't know. It's only 12 months, and I have to have like other job that pays bills. So...
No, if only we could create a society in which we could just research all day and get paid for it, and not actually have to work other careers to subsidize it. What a treat!
If only.
The dream.
If only.
Also, as Jakista notes, the Sengoku Jidai has about 800 games, and every other period has about -3.
Well, that equals it out, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, once again, Ami and Nathindu, Kate and Alex both work on the same channel, so I will let them introduce themselves to all of Steve's folks, because Sasa also does great work.
Yeah, Alex, you go first.
Yeah, okay. So, like Adam, I'm also not an archaeologist at all. So,
God, I'm leaving.
Boo.
I'm leaving.
Yeah,
Boo!
sorry.
Look, get Melissa and hopefully Chris on later, and then we'll balance the archaeologists out.
Yeah. So, my background is literary studies and film studies, specifically, and so I do my PhD right now. I mean, the last year, which sounds horrifying to say, but it's on mythological video games and characterizations of how characters are represented, and how what games can do that other media perhaps can't do. But on Fridays, I do live streams with the Save Ancient Studies Alliance with Sasa on the link that Adam put in the chat a bit earlier. And I do the streams together with Kate and with David, who couldn't be here today. But yeah, we stream all kinds of stuff, from historical to archaeological to mythological games, generally ancient related, or like pre-modern is perhaps a better term to describe it. But yeah, we've done a lot of different things. And we've also started streaming on Saturday, which Kate will tell you about right now.
Oh yeah, we have. So hi, I am the other part of the Sasa streaming team. I'm the other side. I am Dr. Kate Miniti, almost 1 year doctor. So my anniversary is coming in January. It was a feat of strength.
It's honestly on par with like a marriage. It really is. It requires just as much work, twice as much trauma, and honestly about 3 times the finances. So absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the marriage anniversary has just passed, so I'm good with both. I am an archaeologist. I do Iron Age Sicily, as you've heard. My PhD is on Egyptian stuff in archaic Sicily, because I am a recovering Egyptologist. That's why I've been streaming. Egyptologist. That's why I've been streaming on Saturday. Where no, listen, we need to talk about Egyptology and how people try to get out and then they never get out. It's toxic. But I got out. And now I also work on Egyptian monsters in video games. I'm actually the pioneer of the field, not because I wanted to, but because nobody else was talking about them. So now I am the leading expert. And I'm also, my job that pays the bills is I teach art history. So...
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I did not go into half as much detail as that. I should reintroduce myself. I didn't talk about what I played. Who am I? Do you know what? This has been great. I'll see y'all later. Okay. No. So let me start again. I'm Steve, or GeneralSte is my Twitch name. I am a Roman archaeologist and historian. I have a degree in art history, Renaissance art and architecture, and then ancient history and archaeology and classical archaeology, and a PhD incoming, hopefully, if all things go well. Yeah, well, all signs are looking good, but I won't say that too loud, or else the universe will slap me in the face and kick me in the ass at the same time. But yeah, on my channel we usually do Total War games, historical related games such as Anno 1800, pretty much anything historical whatsoever. So like I tend to like city builders and simulation games, so I tend to use games that aren't meant to be played the way they are. Like we're just about to play Planet Zoo after this, and I spent umpteen weeks designing ancient Rome in Planet Zoo instead of building a zoo, and same with ancient Athens. So basically just tried to do anything possible to make it old and talkable. Areas of interest other than what I actually specialize in, I'm a huge fan of Napoleonic history, and Renaissance history obviously ties in with the art history side of things. So we basically tried to talk about as much as possible anything ancient, anything Alexander, unfortunately I think he's overrated, and anything Napoleon and or Renaissance and pretty paintings, to put it very simply. So yeah, but my actual specialization is in intercultural exchange and identity development in the Republican Roman world between kind of the I suppose the mid 5th century and then the end of the 1st century. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit. If that is that a better introduction? That's probably a bit better.
That certainly targets the academic skew of my chat, so that's great. Anyway, here's the plan. I've got a tier list with everything that I have played, plus things that other folks have suggested. If we have other games, I can easily add them to the tier list. So we're just gonna like go around, hang out, talk about what we've been doing in the past year, what games we've been playing, and what we think were, good history games, what were not so good history games. Just hang out, have a good time. And as a reminder for everyone in all the chats, did you know that we are currently in Twitch's bonus round, which means that subs are 25% off, first-time subs. So if you have been hanging out in anyone's channel and want to throw them a little bit of cash for the year end, it is 25% off on any subs. Starting next week, it'll be 25% off of gifted subs. And any bits cheered for 300 bits or more, that's just $3 US. Twitch throws in an extra 10%. So if you want to steal some money from Jeff Bezos for this holiday season, get those cheers in whoever's channels you want to support. Because it goes a long way, genuinely, to help us all keep doing what we do for all of you.
For sure. I don't know if anyone has actually gone and ventured over to my channel, but you'll see on the bottom of the channel is a big red bar that says 37 out of 95 new subs for PhD applications on a Christmas cosplay as a treat.
Oh boy,
so,
yeah.
Just to throw it out there that there is like real-time financial support for what we actually do. So yeah, Ludo's Adam is absolutely 100% on the money there. So it really goes a long way.
Someone's got to be a shameless shill, and I have no shame. All right, let's rock and roll. So here's what I've got in terms of the things I have played. As I said, right, I'm happy to talk about other games as well. It's just I have been aggressively indie the whole year long, and have barely seen. Oh, good lord, Faith. Okay, I just got the $1,000 green bit dropped, which is a whole lot of money. Thank you, Faith. Anyway.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoop, whoop.
So what games have you all been playing? I know a lot of Total War recently. Objection.
Yes.
Oh god.
So I'm a content creator with Creative Assembly.
Yeah.
So I get kind of the inside scoop on Total War stuff.
Incredible.
And let's just say that I was in the minority by quite a margin as to how much I enjoyed Pharaoh, and that is purely because of actually understanding and liking the period. So I'm actually gonna either abstain from this one or kind of put my vote in last, because I would put it in B personally. Yeah. But I really, really liked what they did with it. And before they even announced it, I said it to the gang on stream. We have a clip of it to prove it. But I said it to them that, like, because they hadn't announced it. There was no wind of it in the back channels of Creative Assembly. I said we needed a Mesopotamia Total War that was like Old Kingdom Egypt or New Kingdom Egypt, Cyrus the Great, the Mycenaeans, all the kind of all the things they put in basically into Pharaoh, but from a different angle. I was like, we needed to touch on that. So when Pharaoh was released, I actually was very kind of, oh, interesting. This is fab. Obviously, there has been an awful lot of, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually not played Total War Pharaoh. It is something where it's like, I'm going to play this, and then I blinked and the year ended. So...
I mean, we are starting a Hittite campaign, possibly in February, so...
Rock and roll.
Are you playing Supililiuma? Are you?
Oh, we will probably be playing Supililiuma. I'm not too fond of Kurunta, but the Antler agenda lives on, as you see from my, from my profile pictures.
Of course.
If I can give one piece of advice for playing Supililiuma is they did do one really nice thing with the campaign, which I thought was superb. They really differentiated the diplomacy per faction. So if you're playing as the Hittites with Supililiuma, it is way easier by whatever mechanic they have to vassalize around you, because that's what the trend would have been historically. Whereas if you try to do the same thing as Seti, it's going to go very badly.
Oh yeah, we've just finished a campaign with Tawazret, and it was a ball. We did vassalize our own husband because we support women's rights, but especially women's wrongs and women's vassals. So we vassalized our husband to get the achievement. But I love that game. It is not my favorite time period of ancient Egypt. I am partial to the Tutmosis Kool-Aid because Hatshepsut and because Tutmosis and Amenemhat II. But I did like it a lot. I would put it in A tier if they give us the Assyrians or Babylon. If they
I just want to see them actually include the Mycenaeans. I don't think you're gonna have that.
I've been yelling that for like every single episode. I want to see the Mycenaeans, real Mycenaeans, not whatever the fuck they had going on with Troy. I want to see the Mycenaean city-states. I want to see that.
Yeah. One of the guys in my chat just said something very, very true there as well, which I suppose we haven't factored in yet, is the price, because it wasn't something I actually got. I actually got it from Creative Assembly, which kind of I often forget about. Oh well, I didn't have to go out of my way to actually buy this, so big shout out to Creative Assembly for that, obviously. But the price, it was exceptionally overpriced for what it was. Like, it would drop a tier purely because of the delivery of the game in comparison to the price of the game. It was priced as if it was a AAA Rome 2 sized game, and it really was not. It should have been 40 quid, not 69.99.
Yep.
Personally,
they did refund it. They did refund it back down though. So
oh boy.
Yeah, but it took what it took to get them to do that. Do you know what I mean?
True.
One of the guys here also said.
I'm reading your chat.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing actually.
My one.
Yeah, yours.
Oh yeah, but Bach is saying here Pharaoh had no argument to not include the full map of both Mesopotamia and Greece, and I agree with that because they already had the map done in Troy, so there was really no reason for it not to. Pay no attention to anyone in that chat who says I tell rubbish jokes constantly. That is slander, and I refuse.
That is something we do all the time. Alex can tell you, all the hippo jokes that we make. Also the hippo agenda.
The Star Wars jokes, everything. It's
the antlers. It's hilarious.
Hang on, I'm just getting. I realized I should have done this in advance. But I'm just getting a multi-stream setup for everyone, so you can actually easily get from across both chats, and we can kind of keep an eye on everyone.
Oh, cool! Great idea.
Give me just a sec. I'm just going to drop it on my end here.
I'll shout out a game while you're doing that, Adam.
Yeah,
because it's not on the list, but I absolutely think it was one of the best games I've played in a long time. It's The Forgotten City.
Ooh.
True.
Yeah.
Forgotten City rules. I didn't include it because it's not a 2023 release, and that's mostly what I've got here.
Oh, fair.
No, I ran out of time to make another one set up, so let's just talk about Forgotten City because we have all played it and we all love it dearly.
It's such a gem of a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It absolutely rules. Teeny tiny. Hang on,
No.
I just need to get the key art up so people know what we're talking about. And I got it in the teeny tiny size, so you all keep going while I pull this up.
Yeah, what other one is? See, 2023 releases. I suppose we could just hash out other ones that make it into the top 10, even if it's not 2023. I think a huge shout out to how Ghost of Tsushima did last year. I think that was a phenomenal historical representation of a game. I thought that was beautiful. One of the guys in chat is mentioning Kingdom Come as well. I presume that's Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah, I have strong feelings on that game. I have very strong feelings on that game.
Do tell.
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a game that recreates the natural environment of Bohemia really, really well, but the moment you start digging into any of their historical simulation, it completely falls apart at the seams and actually turns into a pretty rubbish game.
Do you know what? I will give any gaming company that can immerse me in a time period a much easier pass than I'll give Ridley
Scott
the
goddamn week's wages.
The fuck he made called Napoleon.
Fair.
I would,
valid.
That was a tragedy, is what that was.
Yeah. Kingdom Come Deliverance fully lost me when I realized a pretzel cost a week's worth of wages.
In this economy?
Literally, how is anyone supposed to survive in that world when the most basic food costs a dummy amount of cash?
I love that's the point.
And also, you attack a sheep and suddenly everyone looks like they're a professionally trained HEMA fighter.
Oh, 100%. But then look at Assassin's Creed and you dare slap a chicken and you will get murked. You can defeat a boss in that game, but dare you attack a chicken? It's like the 7th level of Hades has just come up and smacked you in the ass.
These days it just desynchronizes you. It says, how dare you attack a chicken? No historical figure would ever do that. You're a horrible person.
Unless you're a Roman consul and the omens are wrong, in which case, eat the chicken, eat the augur, eat the respects, and then lose the battle.
True.
I mean, that's what
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should have paid attention to the chickens.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, shout out Forgotten City. What other one? Just while we're throwing them out there. What other ones? Even if it's not 2023, just what one kind of stands out in your mind?
Pentiment game of the year every year.
Yeah.
I know, right. Yeah. Alex and I have been streaming that over with Sasa the last few weeks, revisiting it, and man, that game just continues to be the best.
Yeah. It is such a gem and just unique in what it does, I think. Like, there's no other game, except for maybe, what's it called? It's on your list. Inkulinati, that has a kind of
super duper bookish aesthetic, yeah.
Listen, that game has a very a very weird title in Italian, okay? Like, you really don't want to say that word in Italian.
Oh no.
For romance language reasons and butt sex. You really don't want to say that.
Phenomenal. I love it. I lived in Italy while I was doing my masters, and just when you said butt sex, I realized the word you meant, and I was like, oh my god, yes.
Yep, that's it. So like, it's difficult to explain to a friend. So yeah, I'm playing this game that's called Inkulinati, and they're giving me looks like, no, it's not what you think. I mean, it could, but it's not.
Incredible.
It could be one of those 18+ games on Steam,
right?
Sure, yeah. Every Steam Next Fest, when I was looking at demos for what's like coming down the pipeline, I have to be incredibly careful, because it turns out Did you know that all the most popular demos on the browse feature are extremely not safe for terms of service?
Yeah, I would say so.
I am not surprised.
Although, is that including the updated terms of service there, Adam? Because clearly there's been a little bit of a miscommunication.
They backtracked real fast on that, didn't they?
They did. I don't even think they made it 24 hours. And they were like, "Whoa, you crazy bastards! Roll it back."
We just accidentally turned the largest streaming service on the planet into a porn site. Oops.
Yeah, oopsies. It was a real like Pikachu meme, like where he turns. It's like, oh no.
I mean, I respect them trying to go for it. They should have seen that one coming.
Yeah, they should have seen it coming 100%. Well, I was thinking of one other one there. Oh yeah, sorry, it's not one that's been released yet, but
yeah,
y'all are probably going to be heavily invested in Manor Lords when it comes out.
Oh yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that vaguely, and it looks real good. I am pretty excited for it.
Did you play the demo?
I played it briefly, just like off stream. I'm terrible at city builders, so I did not have enough time to actually, figure it out and actually understand what it's doing. But that game looks like it's going to do some real interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's just a single guy developing it.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, it's just one guy doing it. He's absolutely incredible. And yeah, I gotta like city builders is something that I actively do on stream quite a lot, like between Anno and City Skylines and Planet Zoo and whatnot. So that kind of builder style thing. I was in love with that game. For like it had these, obviously it was only a beta test, so like after it reached maybe 3 hours of gameplay it seemed to lag regardless of your PC. There was other issues kind of kicking in about it, but oh my god, when it was running it was gorgeous. Like it was
amazing.
It was the perfect mix between kind of Anno 1800 and Bannerlord, and I was like, that's
amazing.
just superb. Yeah.
Ooh.
Very excited for it.
Stay, if you like Bronze Age city builders, you should play Sumerians, which is very nerdy. Yes, it's also one guy developing it. It's very nerdy and it's a great game.
You've said all the correct words in the correct order there. Bronze Age, city builders, Sumerians, very nerdy. I'm like, oh, you had me at the first one.
I do know my audience.
You do. I'll have a look at that. It's on Steam, is it?
Yes, it is. And there's also Nebuchadnezzar, which I still cannot pronounce, but also a city builder, set in ancient Mesopotamia.
Amazing. Where was it? We mentioned Inkulinati, so let's actually put something else on this tier list for the sake of having content. Did folks play it? I played a decent amount of it. I think I finished 3 runs total.
I haven't.
So where are we putting it? I haven't played it.
Honestly, I'm of the opinion it's actually like low B, high C tier. The game's fun, but the game mostly uses thinks about medieval art in the same way that like my channel's emotes do, which is that the first and most important thing is that they are memes and there is no second thing. Right, so it's not really saying a whole lot. Like in terms of teaching people about the art, there's not a lot of potential there. It is fun. It is very goofy. And once the combat clicks, it's a genuinely good strategy game. So it gets a lot of points for me for that. And obviously I can't be mad at it, as my chat is spamming all of my emotes. But it's not. It doesn't really get at what I like about medieval manuscripts. So it's kind of fine. It's fine.
How would you have judged? Would you have judged it differently if Pentiment hadn't come out the year before?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It would have moved up a tier.
Maybe not a whole tier, but it definitely would be ranked higher. And obviously, right, the Yaza Games folks and the Obsidian folks get along super well. Their art shows up in each other's games. You can be Andreas Mahler in Inkulinati. And it's very charming. But of the two, like, obviously Pentiment is something real special. And Inkulinati is just a good strategy game that emphasizes all the fun weird art and doesn't really... Right, one thing I'm super interested in is the interplay of text and image, and the way in which those two complicate each other, and it doesn't... There's no text, it's all image. And that's fine. It works, it's just, it's not what I was quite looking for. And so it's not something I can go like, yeah, this is a fantastic historical game. Yeah. That's all I've got.
Well, now I want to play it, so...
No, absolutely go play it. It is 100% worth your time. Right, I think really only, like, bottom of, like, D tier games are ones that I'm probably gonna say skip this.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, just because I see it there, and it's one that I've played very recently.
Yeah.
Did y'all play Mirage?
Yeah, I did.
It's fucking brilliant.
Mirage is great.
It was absolutely amazing.
Like, I think that's a high A tier, if not... It's not quite an S tier for me, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, I thought they even brought back the shitty guards. Like, you'd murder someone right beside someone, and it was that old style, like, brotherhood of, oh, it must be the wind, you know? It was
be the wind.
Perfect stupidity. But that's what Assassin's Creed is. It's history, but also it's kind of like, what the fuck? There's no way you'd be able to do that. And it just brought that back, and I had so much fun.
Oh god,
with Mirage.
I had so much fun with it. It loses points for doing the actual, like, political history plot real dirty. Like, it's that's not how anything in that historical anarchy period actually showed up. Like, wasn't how any of that happened, and that sucked.
But in fairness, they like, that's consistent with Assassin's Creed. Cesare Borgia did not siege Monteriggioni in Italy, and you know, like they like the Pope was not stabbed in the Sistine Chapel. Like, it's just they get the gist, and it all kind like, I mean, look at Odyssey, my favorite AC game. I know that's a brash statement, isn't it? But like, they don't have Hoplite Warfare in the game. Yeah, it's not. They show Hoplite Warfare in a cutscene at the very start, and they don't show it again. It's not actually a functioning part of the game. But and for some reason, Athens' greatest general Demosthenes is just standing ogling at Athena for 30 years. And it's like,
I mean, it's a great statue.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a fantastic. Yeah,
you would want to look at it for 30 years, I guess.
The flip side of it, though, is, right, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, right, is almost like point for point, taking things from the general history of pirates, which, as I was just talking about with someone earlier today, is a rubbish, fanciful, historical pseudo-narrative that should not be taken as actual history. But it is a contemporary source, and so I respect them for just, like, this is what every pirate was doing in this moment, and off you go.
Yeah.
And they end up doing that, like, narrative plot super duper well. They moved away from that, where now they're really focused on that world state, and, I mean, that world state is where Mirage shines.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it gives me a lot, like, did you see the other three that they've hinted at? So they're calling it, like, Code Jade and Code Green. That
Jade's
one that's
already
going to
out.
be based... Oh, sorry, yeah, the what's the
Red,
one that's
Red is in
based
Japan.
in Salem?
And it's going to be... I don't know if there's one based in Salem, but Hex, or Hexy, is going to be based in the Holy Roman Empire in the 16th century, it looks like, which is spooky. Yeah. I'm real spooked on that. Oh, and I got a question. Before we go to that, super quick question from Blade of Creation. How's the Discovery Tour? They integrated it into the main game. It's not a separate mode. They just have Discovery Tour Codex entries from one written or advised by one of the best people in the business to get that advising from, and they're phenomenal.
I think that's what we should also point out. Like, of all codexes in games, like, it is the one, I think. I mean, I don't know of any other game where you get references to the exact museum it is in, or like the exact inventory number, or where it was found, it's incredibly detailed, and I like that. I've played a bit of Mirage. I haven't played it that much, I liked it for what it went deeper into the history than I thought it would at first. Like I thought it would be like a quick DLC, but I see people in Adam's chat are also pointing out some problems with it, which I agree with. So I agree it might go as far as A for what it does well. So yeah, I'll maybe leave it at that. But
I think I put it in relation to what Valhalla didn't do, and everything that I had an issue with in terms of Valhalla, in terms of the progression system, in terms of the narrative, in terms of the length of the game. I see Adam holding his head in his hands when I mentioned Valhalla.
I mean, if you saw my my profile picture, you would know you know also how I feel about Valhalla.
Yeah, I mean, Valhalla was what got me into streaming regularly, so I've got to give it props for that. I give it no other props.
Yeah.
Odyssey is what got me into a PhD, so I echo that statement.
Yeah,
but Odyssey at least, from coming from that period, but at the same time, I compare this to Origins more so than Valhalla, because Valhalla is really not within my academic wheelhouse whatsoever. But Origins lands directly in the Roman occupation of Egypt, and then Odyssey is obviously during the Peloponnesian War. But the amount of accuracy and attention to detail that went into Odyssey was tenfold what went into Origins. The narrative behind it, the little side missions you could do, even the way that Socrates talks in it is almost pulled exactly from the sources. And that, like, some of the questions he asks you are direct questions in Symposium and in Republic. So yeah, and it's like that's fantastic. I loved that. And yes, Origin's obviously a great game. We're not taking away from the gameplay aspect of it and the beautiful setting and the whole thing. But I just didn't find as many historical related Easter eggs that were there in Odyssey. And I was like, that's why Odyssey kind of is just one step above the rest when it comes to the open world ones for me. I'm like, yeah, they really kind of pulled as much as they could out of it, you know?
Also, props for Odyssey for the inscriptions that they have, which are accurate, like in Epidaurus, for example, and to the sea shanties, which are based on like Homeric hymns or other classical or archaic poetry, which is just fantastic to hear in a game or just to encounter in the.
I will be that person and say that you're absolutely. I agree with you on the props for the epigraphy, but the metopes and triglyphs and the pedimental sculptures on all the temples are the same.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all the same, and none of them look what they should look like. So
that is true. To be fair,
I'm pretty sure it's lapiths and centaurs everywhere. It's just all of them.
Yeah. And they're all made of like metal. There's no color. Like it's not stone. It's metal, and there's no color. It's like
Yeah, I don't so much mind because, those games are already horrifically bloated in terms of texture details. If they were not reusing assets, I'd fucking lose it. I don't need a 400 gigabyte game, thank you very kindly. Exactly. But at the same time, if you're going to reuse an asset, make the asset good in the first place, and don't make the giant Roman statues all over England. Wait, wrong game.
Oh my god!
And Doric temples in England. I mean, yeah, surely plenty of them, right? What?
Yeah, I will say Origins did one thing that is worse than that, and that is so-called inscriptions that they write in Latin, but the letters are in Greek. And so they do like the Latin letter E becomes like a Greek sigma or a Greek S, and that's
tough.
They also put hieroglyphs on the floor, which is absolutely not.
They also depicted seemingly every Roman soldier is some sort of weird cross between an auxiliary and a centurion. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could do this all day in terms of how shitty but also how beautiful Assassin's Creed is.
Absolutely. I would actually move from Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed. Alex, you've been playing the VR one. How is it?
So in order to put this on the tier list, I have to ask, how are we like what are the criteria?
That's a good point.
Because go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So the way I'm conceptualizing this is obviously Pentiment tier is a work of staggering genius, right? Where they are doing something in terms of having a vision for what they want to do historically, and executing on that so well that there's like it just completely executes its historical vision phenomenally. Down at the bottom is something where the thing they're trying to do just doesn't work. Either that's because the game is just not fun to play, or the history in it is so bad that they shouldn't have even claimed it was in a historical setting. And so this is sort of kind of staggering in between those two extremes of, right, generally succeeds, does interesting things but has pretty big flaws, and has value, but also has some, like, serious flaws that keep it from being what it could have been.
Okay. So the thing with Nexus is, so if you judge it as a game, they're just like you don't look at the VR aspect. If you just judge it at a game, it is not that remarkable. Like, it's a downgrade from what Odyssey was. There's no like Greek voice actors anymore for the NPCs. They're the textures are perhaps even more noticeable. The graphics are worse. But if you compare it to other things inside VR gaming, then Nexus, as well as the one right next to it on the list, Asgard's Rise 2, is unmistakably a massive leap forward in what VR can do or can be. Like, it's so detailed, and I also have to give it props for being like Mirage, like I said, like more in tune or more going more in depth in the history than I thought it would be. Like, it would have been easy to just have you like a VR simulation or reconstruction of like one ancient setting or historical setting, and you just walk around and you hear someone talk about it, and that will be fun. But Nexus makes it a game and makes it like Mirage, so that you have the codex entries scattered in the world, and so you take them and you get the game pauses and you get like a screen and you can read everything about it. And there's like 70 entries in the entire game, so that's massive.
Wow, that's a lot more entries than I expected.
Yeah, it's detailed. So it spans the three stories of one of Ezio, of Connor, and Cassandra. So if you play the Ezio or the Connor ones, like, the graphics in VR are sort of what you would expect. I mean, they're sort of in tune with console gaming from 2009 2012. But if you play the Odyssey one from 2018, you do notice like the big change downwards, like you do know the downgrade. So in my opinion, if all things considered, B tier would maybe be good, but if you want to give it credit for the leap in VR that it pushed, or like what it does new, I would go up to A tier. But then we are in the uncomfortable situation that we only have like that we are putting the two Assassin's Creed at A tier above other things. So I don't know if we want to do that. But,
Yeah, I mean, if it's good, it's good, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
I'm okay with like somewhere in this range. If you think that's like, if it's doing good history work, like, I'm totally cool with that.
yeah.
I mean, right, there are games that are going to beat it in this chunk, so that I'm not worried.
we can also go back to it if there's a sense that, like, if we find something that's like
Exactly.
100% like D tier, and we're like, well, hang on a second, Pharaoh's not that much better than that or something, we can rejig it. Do you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
But I really would like to have played Nexus. I've seen some bits and pieces about it, and I 100% agree. And I suppose this is the eternal question when it comes to gameplay experience versus what we're kind of talking about, which is like not necessarily historical accuracy, but at least its position within the historical community of games.
Yeah.
And it's like, for example, Pharaoh didn't move anything forward in terms of gameplay to any great extent, but it was a whole new period of history that I touched on that they've never played before. Should that outweigh not many mechanical changes? Maybe, maybe not. You're saying that Nexus is a huge mechanical upgrade just by its very nature.
Yeah.
But it's not really a huge step forward for the actual franchise. So does that cancel out that or the other? Do you know what I mean? So there's a whole, I suppose there's two angles for all elements, you know? Like, if anything, actually, Mirage could have been a regression. If you really wanted to shit on it, Mirage was a downsizing. It was a simplification of the AI. It was a return to the original format of the game. And there's an angle on that that could be seen as like, well, they didn't actually move the franchise forward. They resorted to a safe bet. But that's been very negative on the situation. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a fantastic game.
That's what they did. I mean, if you see the kind of fandom that is praising Mirage for going back to the original formula, that fandom is the fandom that thinks that women have no place in history or gaming. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I do want to just very lightly push back on that with Mirage, because yes, the player character is gender locked, but they also did some interesting things in terms of like, especially the poet, like giving her a queer love story arc. So there is very valid criticisms, but also it's like it's not like they were unaware of that and were just like, oh yeah, let's go dude bro, super dude bro. I don't count Roshan because Roshan socializes very masculine despite being male, or despite being female. So like, you know, iffy there. But there were characters where they were at least showing a cognizance of that. And so while there's more to be done, like there is some clear awareness in their narrative design of like, wait, yeah, this would be pretty oof. Like Rebecca was a fantastic character, and I can't remember the poetess's name, and I feel real bad about it because she's actually a historical figure.
Yeah. It's something with an A, isn't it?
Yeah, Arib. Thank you.
Arib, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, Arib had a fantastic arc and was just a really cleverly written character that really emphasized, you know, the historical ways in which artistic and cultural agency was done.
I also think that they kind of kneecapped themselves with it because they obviously followed Basim's story in reverse. So as opposed to choosing Eivor or like if you chose Cassandra or Alexios, where you were starting a new character and you could have that kind of you could choose a male or female character from the start, and they would invert the story as needed. I think that they knew what they were getting into in the sense that they said, okay, we have an established character with Basim who was a standout from Valhalla, who has a story to tell. We're going to trace him back, and having the ability to swap out that character doesn't make narrative sense considering they were a stable character in a subsequent game that came out earlier. So they screwed themselves over in that regard from it making narrative sense. But I will say that, like, I think they heard the uproar from Bayek and Aya, wasn't it, in Origins, saying that she was a way cooler character. Now Bayek was an amazing character as well, but the fact that we only got to play as her at the end, and everyone was like, she's fucking awesome. Like, why can't we do this? Like, they heard that, and then they should have been there. Well, there were other big issues. Of course, but I'm just about like in the general conversation, like of it being that they kneecap themselves by tracing an established male character backwards rather than starting it afresh. Do you know? I don't see how they could have made that work.
Exactly. I will say, they really kneecapped themselves with Nehal. Right, that felt a bit like bait as well. So I don't really like Nehal being femme presented, and then surprise, it's just Isu Loki, who is otherwise very mask presented in Valhalla. Like, didn't love that. So still room for improvement. Like Bordeaux, UB Bordeaux won a lot of goodwill from me for Mirage.
Yeah.
I would also say about Mirage, what we talked about earlier about like mechanical advancement, and it's a movement back to the series form and the earlier games. Mirage is still like, in a lot of respects, like it does adapt from the Ezio and the Altair games, but it's still very much a Valhalla spin-off. I think like the interface is exactly the same. The world design is not that different. I mean, you can see some of the same assets being used. Like, it is still very much a Valhalla with, you know, so the houses are a little bit closer to each other, so you can jump from one to the other. But it's not that mega move towards, you know, the ancient the old Assassin's Creed, I think. So even
Yeah.
there, I would sort of disagree with it, but
Do you know, you just reminded me, sorry, of saying that the houses were all pressed together. I digress for a moment, but it's for comedic effect. So, and I saw a fantastic thing, because obviously I'm Irish. And it was why Spider-Man would be a shitty superhero in any other city but New York. And it's just one tall building, nowhere to swing, and you saying all the buildings press goes together. I was just like, yes, they did the Spider-Man thing on it. It just wouldn't work in an actual city whatsoever. Like,
I mean,
anyway, sorry.
To digress upon the digression, but in the new Avengers films, he just swings around and there's nothing above him. It's just like an empty battleground. There's no but it doesn't logically work.
Yeah.
I mean, he would do great in like the 5 square meters of Vancouver, like of downtown Vancouver, and that's it. But like he would just be, going around the 5.
They genuinely looked into it or something. I think somebody did one of those people who's like way too much time in their hands, but devotes it all to like really cool facts, and was like, there's only 5 cities in the world where Spider-Man could actually function as a superhero, and it's like New York, Toronto, Singapore, Hong Kong, and like I think it's what one did they say? Was it like San Fran or something like that, where they judged it by the length of swing and the velocity he'd have to have. They have to be on average 8-story buildings in the general vicinity, and it's like. And I was like, you've devoted way too much math into this.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But I was like, that's also brilliant. So I mean, we know that the multiverse can only exist functionally in 5 cities. So fantastic.
We love that. Oh man. All right. Let's move on to another game I know a lot of folks have played here. And one that we know is I'm going to say it already. It's going to go top tier. Stray Gods.
Yay.
Steve, have you played Stray Gods?
I haven't. No, but do tell.
All right. So if you haven't heard of this, this is a game. This is the premiere game by Summerfall Studios. The director is the guy who designed Dragon Age's dialogue system, David Gator.
Okay.
The composer is Austin Wintry, famous for Journey, Abzu, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, etc. It's like 9 million other amazing projects. And it is a musical. It is an interactive visual novel. It is also a whole-ass musical.
Fantastic.
Yeah, featuring the Greek gods, and Grace, your main character, is the last of the muses. And it's a murder mystery.
Phenomenal.
It's a murder mystery Greek mythology musical.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. I love it.
So goddamn good. Like, there are things to critique in terms of like what it is, how it portrays the Greek gods. Like, it is not perfect, and the devs were super open on like, we didn't have an expert. David just spent a bunch of time reading, and it was. But in terms of a vision that executed phenomenally well, it succeeds on every note.
And
that's fantastic.
It adapts like the Greek mythology to like a contemporary context, I think, as well. Like, it doesn't. Like, it's so easy for games, and I know we're gonna talk about God of War in a minute, but like it's so easy to fall into the the age-old pattern of destruction and violence and epic battles, stuff like that. But this one does something that we've rarely, if ever, seen in games with Greek mythology, and also the voice cast, I think, needs shouting out here. Like, Laura Bailey, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, like, are all legends of video game voice acting. That is just so perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pentiment tier.
One of the guys here in my chat just said something really cool, which complements your point completely there, gang. And it's like Greek myth is very flexible. It adapts well because the gods are human. They have human flaws.
Oh yeah.
So it makes a beautiful. Like, I haven't played the game. Everything you said about the game just sounds absolutely fantastic. I'll 100% look into it. But I can already see how the Greek gods make for hilarious. Sure, some of the myths, like, look at Ovid, look at Metamorphoses, like, the myths are hilarious. Some of them are gas, like, and you can absolutely see how they are they are absolute comic book characterizations of personality traits, and that is just that is perfect for a musical or like a pantomime kind of vibe. And yeah, I can really see how that would work. Yeah, for sure.
It was real good, and they do some interesting things to play with it, right? So they look at, you know, the Homeric hymn to Zeus, and the, you know, kidnapping of Persephone, and go, you know, what if Persephone just fucking killed Hades?
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
no, it rules. There's so much fun play with it, and so like it's not. They have some stuff to let you like learn about the stories behind it, but mostly they're just playing, and it shows once again that yeah, there's something fundamentally human about especially the Greek gods, more so than any other pantheon, that has given them like cultural staying power in at least Anglo-American spheres. That gives you a lot of room to play, and it plays with it in a way I've never seen before. It just worked for me.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, fully agree. Yeah.
Out of
I would like, out of all the mythological games I've played this year, that one is definitely the game of the year for me. Like it was just a standout. We've never seen anything like it, and I have heard and seen on like statistics page that not that many people have played it or got it. It also had the unfortunate timing of being released, I think 2 weeks or before or after Baldur's Gate. So I guess people were getting their role playing on in other games that month. But yeah, I mean, a call to action. If anyone here has any in the chat like loves Greek mythology, you should play this game.
Yeah.
The game will win you over on the musical part if that's what's holding you back, but otherwise it is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a solid recommendation. Go check that out. On the theme of gods, and you mentioned it there a second ago that we were going to talk about it. Should we deal with the elephant in the room of God of War?
Yeah, God of War fucking rules.
Yes. It's great. It's fantastic.
It's absolutely. Did you play the DLC?
I have.
I have not.
I watched.
Oh my
I haven't played any of them, but I've watched people play them in Italian with much swearing. So it's almost as if I played them myself.
How does Kratos say boy in Italian? What is the correct phrase for that?
By the way, I hate to very briefly interrupt, but we are about to get another person in. Chris, get on in here. Looks like it may be just a couple minutes, but another history streamer and another Viking Age specialist, Roommaster Chris. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
All right.
Hey.
Hi.
Quick run.
How are you?
I'm doing super well. How are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good. Just out of work, relaxing in the hotel.
Heck yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself? Because there's a whole bunch of folks on my channel and on Steve's channel hanging out. Tell us about what you're up to here on the internet, at least, and IRL. You know, everything.
Sure.
Give us everything.
Sure. Hi guys. My name is Roommaster Chris. I am an American archaeologist. I do a lot of like CRM work out in the United States, so I'm out doing some like survey projects right now. But online, I do a lot of kind of goofy content around archaeo gaming and just kind of general entertainment content where I try to pique some interest in other non-archaeologists in the subject so that they maybe ask questions about it and then learn how to look for good sources of archaeology.
Yeah.
But I do streams here on Twitch and videos on TikTok. Although I've been really bad about TikTok lately.
I have a question for you, Chris.
Sure, absolutely.
So from one archaeologist to another.
Yeah.
How many times have you lost your trowel in a test trench?
Ooh, I'm in okay shape. I think I'm on like my third career trowel.
Ooh.
Oh wow! How long's the career though?
It's like 8 to 10 years.
So
wow,
that's less than 1 a year. That's
wow. It's really good.
I still have my first trowel. So
although the problem, the problem, and the reason why I'll say that I'm maybe not a typical example here is all of my work, like predominantly, I don't really use trowels all that often. It's mostly like shovel testing. So I'm not doing as many like phase 2 or phase 3 things.
That would do
Okay,
it.
fair.
Yeah, and a lot of monitoring and all that stuff. So a lot less trowel work.
I'd love a bit of monitoring as long as it's not urban monitoring, and then that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I was talking about this earlier. I did do something very archaeologist with my trowel though, because I have a buddy who got me and my wife, because she also does archaeology and architectural history. He got us matching trowels with custom handles that have like our wedding date in it.
That's adorable.
I love that.
Yeah, very nice mantle decorative pieces, and I immediately took it and used it in the field.
I mean,
It's like, this is a decorative piece that's very nice and very lovingly created, and I am going to dirty it up.
That's like using your ceremonial blade in battle. You know, it's like,
You know what?
like, hang on,
Use them if you got them.
Yeah. That's I'm very, very impressed. I'm on my 5th trowel in as many years.
Okay.
okay.
So I am that I cannot claim to have cared much about trowels.
Right,
Actually, the last 2 I've lost, I've bought 2 in replacement, and because I know I'm gonna lose it, so I'm like, okay, buy a second one, Steve. Just get a second one so you know you have it. And
Gotta have
but
the backup.
honestly, the thing that goes missing the most on site is Sharpies, though. Still,
Yes.
I've lost so many Sharpies.
Oh my God.
I've lost a
Well,
Sharpie on this job.
Oh yeah. Well, Sharpies just disappear, and then like the year after, you look into your old, your old pants pockets, and you find Sharpies, and you're like, oh, when did I steal these?
or just
When
one
did-
glove. Have you found ever
Yes.
just your left
yeah.
glove?
I found one sock, only one. I was like, how?
For the
I still at my last job. I stole, I think, 20 pencils because I needed it all the time. So I just stick it in my pocket and then forget it was in my pocket. And
I once walked the whole way down to the compound. It's about an 8-minute walk to get a pen that I thought I'd left at the table in the break room, and it was in my ear the whole time. There and back, and I came back and I was like, has anyone seen my good ballpoint pen? And one of the girls on site was like, Steve, you have it behind
it's
your
up
ear.
there.
It's
Yeah,
right
I've done
there.
that.
And I'm like, yeah.
I've done it.
I did something
been
really
there.
bad recently, and I was working in like a hay field, so everything was yellow,
Yeah.
and I accidentally left one of our GPS units in the hay because it's also yellow.
Oh no.
And I realized when I got
no.
back, and I was like an hour and a half away from the site, and I just frantically had to drive back out and go get it.
Oh my God! Listen,
God.
if you ever feel bad about losing stuff, when my dad was doing the military service in Italy, he lost a cannon. So
How?
Cannon.
that happened.
Entire cannon?
Yeah, an entire cannon. They did, he was not driving. He was with his buddy who was driving, and they were, dragging a cannon. They turned, and then they arrived at base, and they were like, "We brought the cannon." And the guard was like, "What cannon? There's no cannon behind you." So they had to drive back, and they had left it at the turn. So, if you ever feel bad about losing shit, think about that. Think about Italy in the 1980s.
That makes me feel a lot better, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Have you ever
You know where I come
have you ever had a batch of inquisitive cows follow you around a testing job?
I have to deal with cows all the time.
Sheep.
I have to deal with them a lot on this one. On this job, we had someone who had a support dog, and this thing wanted nothing else in life other than to get its head stomped in by a cow.
Oh.
And we were fighting tooth and nail with this dog
Oof.
to get it to stop dealing with this.
Oh man.
We had so I don't know if you've experienced this, but the other way you put down flags for the digger behind to excavator to do your test trench. So you'd lay out the test trench, one flag at the end, or a ranging rod or something from one end to the other. And as the digger would move along and excavate whatever 20-meter long test trench, of course you'd record it and then move on. But the digger would only come and backfill that evening, and you'd come back in the evening, and the flags that you used would all be chomped on by the cows. The ranging rods would all be licked they seem to like the
Oh.
red and white ranging rods would just get licked from top to bottom, and then like they'd have them like knocked over or whatever, and then there would just be cow shit the entire length of the test trench. It's like they just got in and went, I know what to do.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
I do see my friend Amelia in Ludo's chat asking me to tell the story about the cow getting in a trench, which is
Please.
which is actually my wife's story. But when we got our master's degree in Scotland, and she was out doing a survey with them on something, and they went out, and the next morning they came back in, and there was a Highland cow in one of their test units.
Oh my god.
And cows have this really funny thing where they don't really have a good idea of like height on steps.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
when
no.
a cat,
Oh, no.
cow is in like a 4-inch trench, and it was like, I live here now. I can't. I can't.
Oh,
That's it.
And they had to,
Poor
shove this
Fluffy.
cow out of the trench, and it was like just a step.
full.
Oh.
Oh man, it's a good thing Highland cows are cute because man, they have no thoughts head empty.
Yeah, no.
We were on a site one time that had a phase 2 across the road, but the phase 2 obviously hadn't been stripped and laid out yet, so the farmer still had his sheep grazing on that side of the road, and these sheep just decided one day to, whatever hole in the fence they managed to find or make, but they managed to en masse traverse the road and come in onto site. Now, we were all down for break at one stage. We came back up, and there was about, I'd say, 25 plus sheep
Oh,
just chilling in the middle of a ditch. Like, and I'm talking, it's like a 3 meter wide, 1.5 meter deep ditch, ring ditch, and they were just all chilling in the ditch. And you know when all the sheep look at you at once, and it honestly looks like something from The Exorcist?
yeah.
So we were all walking back out onto site, and all these sheep just started looking at us. And of course, our director at the time just turned around and she was like, there's really nothing we can do. We have to charge them. We have to get them out of the trench.
Why not,
So
folks?
dominance.
If anybody saw these like
Formless.
8 archaeologists in like high-vis gear, arms astretched, just running at this herd of sheep, it would have made the Battle of the Somme look like Wanderley Wagon. It was
God.
just...
God. And like there was a 50-50 shot the sheep would be totally nonplussed by this. I was doing a tour around
100%.
Iceland with my family, and there was a sheep in the middle of the road eating the road because that's what sheep do. We fully nudged it with our car. I was laying on the horn, fully like bumped into it, and it just looked at us. It was like, what? I'm eating the road. Don't worry about it. My dad eventually had to get out and for some reason it's like the car was too big and it was like, I don't understand that this is a threat, but the human shaped thing, we're just gonna walk 10 feet down the road slowly at our own pace.
It's the pupils for me. I just
Yep.
Yeah, they have dead eyes. It reminds me of what's your man's name in Jaws, when he says like a shark's eyes, like a doll's eyes. They're dead eyes, whatever, and they roll back. I'm like, every time I see a sheep, I'm like, you're more satanic than
Yeah.
a shark.
They
Yeah.
are.
Demon
They are.
animals.
They are. And goats, goats climb the trees, so.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Morocco and I saw, do you know those trees
Yeah.
where it's like just full of goats?
Yeah, down in the south by Assuera, yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen that in
Yeah.
Egypt, also in Sumerian art. So
Just goats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
No leaves,
Oh,
no
let
foliage.
me
only
find-
goats.
just goats.
hang on. For anyone who hasn't seen this, let me find the. It happens mostly down in Essaouira, in the southern part of Morocco.
Yeah,
But yeah, they
Essaouira
just
is a
fully.
beautiful city.
It's
Yeah, it
gorgeous.
also
I've only been
happens
once, but
in,
it's
in
amazing.
West Asia. I've had people telling me about that in Syria. I saw it happening in Sudan. So, I think it's like cross-national, like where there are goats and trees, the goats climb.
oh yeah. There we go.
Like again, it's just so bizarre. It's like, cue the goat. What are we gonna do? I know what to do. Hold my beer.
That's it.
That's them.
Wow.
That's an acacia.
Yeah, 100%.
They
That's
just
exactly
hang
what
out.
it looks like.
Yeah.
But you're never ready for it. You're never ready to see it. Like it's just.
I love
know.
K-Cats in the chat. It's like a video game Easter egg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they climb everything. They will climb you if you stand still.
Oh yeah,
So-
yep. I think in Morocco the reason they don't do it in the north is because they don't grow acacia trees in the north. So it's like they just grow. It's just this tree they want to just live in, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's fucking fantastic. It's not that the goats wouldn't do it. It's not. We're not questioning the goats here. It's just that they don't have the means by which to like the correct conditions to climb. But the goats, they'll fucking climb if they can.
Oh yeah. Oh, they will. And then they judge. Like they judge you from up there. They're like looking at you with those rectangular pupils. And I'm like,
they're taller than you. They're in charge.
they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, I have the high ground. They're doing their best Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How did we end up with goats? Oh, with archaeology. Yeah. We
Yeah.
did the trowels,
Yeah.
the cows,
Of
and
course.
the goats. Yeah, that's what happens.
Yup. All right.
But it's true. Like even talking about archaeology, the sentiment proves the same. You will never know more about a person than if you dig a ditch with them.
Yes,
If you
absolutely.
dig a ditch with somebody, you'll know their sex life, their
Yeah.
childhood trauma, their
Yeah.
dead relatives, the family trauma that comes up at Christmas. You'll know everything, all their deepest, darkest secrets, and
Oh,
there's probably a very strong chance you don't know their second name. You know?
Yes. Yes.
That literally describes me with one of the coworkers I had today.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, they
Fantastic.
they went full in.
Yeah. You gotta love it. It's fantastic. It's very like it's very nice when people like confide in you or like, oh, you seem sound. Let me just tell you everything about my life, and then
Yeah.
you don't see them again for 6 months, and you're like,
Yeah,
how
and
is your auntie Nora? She's still a bitch. You're like, oh, I can't remember. You remember that? Yeah, don't
Yeah.
worry. She slapped me dad at Christmas. And it's just
Yeah,
you're
oh my
just straight
God.
off the bat again.
But
Like,
it's also like the gossip, like, and the info that flies. Like, I was in Sicily again digging this past summer, and I met a friend in there who I haven't seen in like 3 years. But so the moment she saw me, she was like, "Oh, I know you got a doctorate, you got married, and you're doing this and that." And I was like, "How the fuck? You know what? I'm not going to ask you because I know exactly who told you that. But I'm glad to see you."
Yeah. It's brilliant, and word travels fast in the industry as well. So like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
can get
it's a-
married or get a doctorate, and suddenly,
Yeah.
you know, everybody and their grandmother will know. So
Oh yeah.
Gas.
Yeah. Exactly. But back to games.
yeah, sorry.
Exactly. Where were we?
Sorry.
Right.
God of War?
God
Oh.
of War. Yeah.
God
God
of
of
War.
War.
God of War, good.
Pentiment here.
Honestly, yeah, I'm cool with that. Right, I had a lot of issues with God of War 2018 in that they did a lot of things right, but also did a lot of things not right, especially regarding diversity in the Norse world. And Ragnarok fixed all those problems.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Freya was fantastic. She was phenomenal in it.
Yeah. I mean, all the characters are. I mean, or most of them at least. But I was literally been playing it earlier today, and it's still so fantastic. And we should talk about the DLC because
Yeah.
it is utterly amazing.
obviously,
And the
spoilers for the DLC in the next little bit here. Alex, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I will try not to spoil, but it's first off the fact that it's free is incredible. They could have easily
Yeah.
charged $20-$30 for it, and people would have bought it, and it would have been fantastic. But it's free, and you get to play it for free, and it's like, so it's a roguelike mode. It's not like the best roguelike you'll ever play. You can just, I mean, I don't think I've ever like died when I was not supposed to for the story, but it is absolutely, you know, the way it combines the Greek and the Norse saga. Like, there's not that much. I mean, I think Steve said he played it as well, right?
I just haven't finished it, but
Yeah.
I've been enthralled with it. I think it's about a 10-hour DLC, so if it proves to be about 10 hours, I'm about halfway.
Yeah, so like there's not a lot of like new mythology or new history that is being, you know, it does start from that frame, like, you know, obviously at the end of you know, Ragnarok, you know, Ragnarok happens, and so the Norse or the Nordic sources know what, you know, tell you what happens after that, and that's kind of where this picks up. But then it's this deep introspective dive into like Kratos' psychology and his transformation and his change, and there's incredible, but I will stress this again, like incredible callbacks to the early games, the Greek games that I didn't expect to see, and it is just I think Valhalla, you know, elevated it to a new level for me, honestly.
My only complaint with the DLC is that it's the dumbest possible name they could have picked.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chris, back me up on this one. We need more names than Ragnarok and Valhalla.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Although I will say my Archaeo gaming like Norse themed red flag is that I haven't played either of them because I didn't have a PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then
I had to borrow one.
The first one came out on PC, and I was like, oh, I'll just wait for Ragnarok to come out on PC, and then I'll play both. And it hasn't done it yet.
It hasn't
and I'm
done it
kind of waiting
yet.
for both. I can just play through both of them.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat of I had to borrow a friend's PS4 in order to play Ragnarok.
Right.
And I do not have time to borrow another PS4 to play
Dang, you
Valhalla.
got some good friends.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
if I wasn't traveling to so many hotels all the time, I'd be more inclined to borrow something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
I think like I obviously am a little bit biased based on kind of the speciality and whatnot, but I would be so pro a relook at the original God of Wars, the ones that were more top down. I thought like even for their time, the kill animations, like what he does to the likes of Hermes and stuff is so dark. It's brilliant. Like from an entertainment point of view, it's fantastic. And it was so ahead of its time in, like I don't know how familiar everyone is with the full lore, like the whole reason why he has like the pale white skin and like all the trauma that he goes through with his family, because it's not really, it's hinted at in Ragnarok, and I think he does explain it to Atreus at one stage, but even at that, it's not like the full lore. He just kind of explains why he is the way he is rather than really like delving into it. But like, it's a phenomenal story. And also like more Greek gods. We've already talked about how accessible they are as entities within video games and within pop culture in general. And it's like, that would be, first of all, it would be a money-making machine, but at the same time, they don't seem to care that much about that as per the free DLC, as we mentioned. Like, it could have been easily been 20 or 30 quid, and people would have been not only happy to pay it, but felt justified in the result. So if they did a relook at a remaster, or like completely took it with the new format of God of War, if they relooked at the old ones, took the same story and did it in a 30-hour main game as like a prelude to the current series, I think it would just be phenomenal. I'd be so pro that.
No. I feel like there's a lot of narrative design decisions that like were really questionable in like the first handful of God of War games that they like. It's almost like tell the same loose structure of the first set, but also change a lot of the details to get rid of the really incongruous minigames and some of the worse ultra violence that but I would also like, I'd love to see the writing chops that this squad has developed try and tackle the sort of Greek tragedy narrative structure.
Exactly, and exactly the problematic things and just playing horrible things Kratos does in the Greek games is what makes Valhalla so great, because it actively addresses all of that, and it doesn't shy away from it. It doesn't erase it. Doesn't act like it's never happened or that Kratos is magically better. It goes into that, and it returns to some of those exact moments, and it helps him cope with that. And the way it does, like someone in the chat, I think, called it like God of War Kratos goes to therapy, which is
Therapy, yes.
basically, I mean, you could call it therapy, I guess, for this, but it's, and I don't like or accept every single choice they make in that in those scenes, but it is a comment on the evolution of game characters, I think, as a whole. It is a comment on game narratives as a whole, game emotions as a whole. Like it's very powerful and very strong, I think, and it is, and the finals, the story are just utterly fantastic, and maybe one of the best cutscenes I think I've ever experienced in recent years.
Amazing.
So yeah, this is I might be overhyping it, but I
No,
really like it.
I've been hearing from folks in my community who have played it that it is real good. So I trust that take. I think it's probably not overhyping it. It may just genuinely be somehow that writing team keeps getting better.
Yeah, and it even goes so far as like I tweeted this the other day. Like, if this is like it leaves Kratos in a place that if this is the last we ever see of Kratos, I'm very happy with it. Like, it doesn't
Amazing.
need to go for further, and we can, if there's future games, like it can focus on Atreus or something. Like, it could be something completely different. I wouldn't be angry with that. In a way that after Ragnarok would have been different.
It probably won't be the end of it, though. I know that there's already been rumors of him going to a new pantheon.
Yeah, and there's some small hints in Ragnarok as well of which pantheons that could be, and actually in the 2018 game already. So
yeah. I'd be curious, because there's a lot of narrative things you can do with a character whose arc is finished.
Yeah.
Like, with that sort of centerpiece, could open up a lot of opportunities for, like, deuteragonists to really, and even antagonists to get some, like, really interesting, weird character arcs. So I'd be curious.
You're seeing that a lot more now in pop culture in general. Like I don't know if any of you played the latest Spider-Man, which was a Pentiment tier of games just in general. Insomniac have come out and said that Miles Morales is going to be the face of the franchise and the games going forward. But I won't spoil it for anyone. But they have left it so that there's still a door open there for maneuvering. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's they've been very open about Miles as the center point, and it's lovely to have conclusions to character arcs that are left with the door ajar rather than shut. Do you know what I mean? And I think another good example of that, because it's probably one of the best things that have come out of Marvel in the last 5 years, is the conclusion to Loki, where I looked at the end of that series and I was like, you know, standing ovation, applause. I was like, there is a conclusion to a character that is as good as Tony Stark's. You know, that is somebody that I'm looking at that going, yes, you did it justice. And I think you're absolutely right. If you look at Kratos, if you look at, you know, that Spider-Man Miles Morales kind of thing, that soft ending to a character arc that leads you with wanting more, but also feeling really content. That's something that I think a couple more gaming companies and pop culture companies are starting to get a hold of. Fans don't necessarily need their souls crushed constantly with the death of characters. Sometimes you can just end a story and that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a powerful lesson that I think a lot of games should, or just a lot of media should kind of include. It doesn't always need to be a traumatic end. You know?
Also, you can write an end, Assassin's Creed. You don't have to keep dragging these out. You can write actually satisfying ends to character arcs.
Yes.
And you don't have to go like, oh, there's going to be another one, there's going to be another one, there's going to be another one. You can it's allowed to keep a franchise going while also ending a character story. It's fine.
But because if you sorry,
go ahead.
Something they never did was that with Desmond.
Exactly.
In Assassin's Creed, like, everyone was left wondering, like, everyone's least favorite part of the last 6 games of Assassin's Creed has been anything modern, because you couldn't relate to Layla, you couldn't relate to this whole unnamed person walking through the halls of Abstergo in Montreal, which is clearly Montreal, and you couldn't they gave no conclusion to it, and so it was always just more and more hated because no one understood how it all fit together. It was just, they tried to give a conclusion to Desmond, and then they kind of brought Desmond back and then kind of didn't, and then, you know, it all just got messy, and it was like, you should have just either drawn a line under it and said,
finish it or not.
Enough. Yeah, exactly. Or gone back to it and said, right, okay, sorry, we fucked that up. That was a bit of a mess in the middle. Let's give you a cutscene to explain what the hell was happening. This is the last part of his story.
Yeah.
Because, you know, kind of, it's needed sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, well, before we get too far back into the talk about Assassin's Creed, because that's what historians who play video games talk about, what else have folks been playing? Because I think most everything else here, except Asgard's Wrath, has been things that I play that are aggressively indie. So I want to give folks a chance to talk about some of the other things we've got.
I've played Age of Empires 4.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Specifically, right, they released an expansion 3 weeks ago? Not that long ago. That is a Crusades campaign. Or, well, sort of Crusades campaign.
The Sultans.
Yeah, the Rise of the Sultans. I had a lot of weird thoughts about, like, the campaigns in Age of Empires 4, in that the base campaigns were all trying to be very documentary-like. So they've got this, like...
Educational.
Yeah.
I'll be straight up. I am super biased in favor of Age of Empires as a franchise.
Oh,
I've been playing it since
I
I was
grew
like
up
a
with
little
Age of
kid. Like that was
Same.
one of the first. That was like one of the first games that I just tunneled for so long.
Oh, same. Yeah, no, I've
Age of
got
Empires 2 was so good.
Conquerors,
But I haven't played
every
the-
Conquerors
I still
campaign.
haven't played 4, but I haven't played it.
Yeah.
I have that sound of when you'd make your farmer do anything and they just go, "Huh, huh."
Huh.
I have that like ingrained in my head. Like,
Amazing.
I've been playing this game 20 years. I'm not any better than when I started,
Oh.
but that's not the point.
No,
It's-
neither am I. I blazed through the entire DLC campaign last night on easy mode just to see what they were doing.
Oh my god.
Don't question my decisions. They're exclusively good. Nothing bad comes from this. Sleep, nah.
not the decision, just the method.
Exactly. But yeah, right. Age of Empires 4 tried to like make all their base campaigns very educational, very documentary-like, very TV-like, and then their DLC campaign goes like takes the same longer durée approach where you're covering 300 years of history instead of like one person's life, but it's all told through a single narrative, semi-diegetic person like an Age of Empires 2 campaign. And I'm like, that feels so different from what they were trying to do earlier. And like all their pages from history, all their like supplemental stuff are written in universe by a fictional chronicler that like is halfway Ibn al-Athir and is halfway a 15th century Mamluk chronicler whose name escapes me. And so it's like, I don't know, if it's like in some ways they went back to Age of Empires 2 structures and it's not bad. It's not bad by any means. I love that it's in Arabic or in a Ayyubid and Mamluk perspective on the Crusades, while Age of Empires 2 has the European perspective on the Crusades, with the Barbarossa campaign, with the Richard the Lionheart campaign.
Yeah.
I guess they also have a Saladin campaign as well, but still.
Right? Yeah. I was about to say that you also had the Saladin campaign, and you could see like kind of the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a back to roots with this expansion. I did not hate it at all. Like I did like Age of Empires 4. I did love to play again the campaigns.
Yeah.
I did enjoy learning stuff because, you know, finally I can learn something while playing Age of Empires. Like I did not mind it.
Exactly.
It was a little heavy-handed.
No, I really like Age of Empires 4 overall. Like I think that is a great game right there. And I love that they play with it. Right, the Ayyubids are basically a like alternate rule set for the Abbasids, which is weird. And yeah, as Jeremiah pointed out, like over half the campaign is actually Mamluk. It's not Ayyubid at all. It's Mamluk. But still, right, I love that they play with their core progression. That's the thing Age of Empires 4 does amazingly. It's what they continue to do amazingly. And so, right, they also added the Japanese, they added the Byzantines, they added...
Oh my god, the Byzantines.
On an earlier update, they added Mali, which I hadn't checked out yet. And I love that they really futz with, like, their core progression to give all of these, like, a really historically inspired identity. I don't necessarily agree with all the choices, but I love that they're pushing that they're like, hey, this format doesn't have to play the same all the time. We can really, like, push that really far and really interesting directions. I don't know why the Byzantines are, like, primarily buying mercenaries with olive oil, but, like, whatever. Roll with it.
You know. Hey, they're Greeks, right? That's what Greeks have. Dirt and olives.
Exactly.
All right.
But yeah,
That
That's
is
for
what
all
we
the
have,
Greeks
but
in
it's,
chat.
but no, but it was good. It's also like a lot of fun because there is still a great community of people that play AO, like Age of Empires 2, like online, like they fight,
Yeah.
like they do PvP in
Yeah.
there. But like if you want to play basically the same campaigns, but like with better, better graphics and slightly tweaked mechanics and everything else, I think AoE 4 may be a great starting point for new players too, which is fantastic because now we're like 20, like it's a new generation of people playing it.
exactly.
So
I mean,
I
Age
do
of Empires
appreciate that a
2
lot.
Definitive Edition is still actively supported,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've been meaning to get like all the DLC and
Deserved.
take a look at their Polish campaign. Right, they've got one centered on Queen Jadwiga, and I just haven't had time. And it sucks because I love it. I'm right with you, Chris. I've been playing Age of Empires 2 since as long as I've been playing video games.
Good.
So, like, I really want to see what they do with everything that they've learned over the last 20 years and see those new campaigns. I just haven't had time.
I will say I will probably scoot off in the next 5 to 10 minutes. I have a DLC to review for Frontier for Planet Zoo.
Yeah.
So I will actually have to go and do that because I have to, fulfill little obligations.
That's fair.
But yeah. So I just wanted to make that known, just so I wasn't just dropping the hammer and being like, I'm off. See you later.
Fair enough.
Goodbye.
Then I actually want to give you control for like the last thing. Like, why don't you tell us? I don't know. What's your favorite thing that you streamed from any, regardless of whether it came out this year? Like, what's the favorite thing you've been doing last year, and what's the thing you're most looking forward to in 2024?
Oh Jesus! Oh my
2024
God.
is fucking stacked, by the way. Just in case anyone's curious,
yeah.
what a year it's gonna be.
Oh, I mean, oh my God! Why it's like Sophie's Choice for gaming.
True. What's a something? Not your favorite something, just a something you like right now.
City Skylines 2 came out and it had a bit of a bomb of an opening because I think they released it a little bit too early, but only a fraction, and the team obviously worked very, very hard to get it back up to some sort of user friendliness if you weren't running like some sort of high-end like master PC for NASA. They finally made it like actually accessible, and I have to say I absolutely adore that game, and I think they've done a magnificent job of it. Now granted, I put out this, it's Paradox, there's going to be fucking DLCs to beat the band. That's how they make their money. But will I buy every one of them? Absolutely. So I absolutely recommend it. It has me both on and off stream at the minute, so I'll throw that one out there. Not historical in any way, but I will say there's mods coming, and somebody put in the option to have a historical start to a city.
Fascinating.
I thought that was genius. I was like, what is
Yeah.
this?
Genius.
The only thing unlocked is rail and dirt track.
Hell yeah.
And you have to start your city from the late 1800s into the Industrial Revolution. So they literally, it goes up by, you can only access the kind of industry that would be available at that point. You can only use rail, you can only use dirt track and light roads. And you basically can play it through for a longer period of time. I don't know how they've done it. Modders are amazing. But when I saw this come out, I was like, damn, that is genius.
Yeah, that's real
absolutely
smart.
genius.
Also, right, I don't know the game like at all, but could you actually like set up like a start situation that's based on a historical map of a city?
Yeah, so most of the maps that are in the city or in the base game are actually based on real landscapes from maps. So I think one of the most famous ones that they have is, I think it's called like Coastal Peninsula or something, but it's absolutely San Francisco. Like it's very clearly San Francisco. And then there's a couple of other like fjords and stuff from Norway and from Northern Europe, and then there's a couple of European locations as well, which they are able, like people have spent time to be able to go, oh, this is clearly the landscape that will be for, around X place in Germany, Frankfurt or whatever, and they're encouraging you to utilize the system in that kind of way. But I presume if you were to install a couple of these mods, I haven't tried the historical one yet myself, but I just think that the way they've done this whole progression system and the way that you're able to follow individuals throughout there, because they've brought in this whole thing where you can track an individual's life progression. Anybody in the city of 80, 100, 200,000 people, you can click on anyone and it'll show what school they went to, what high school, what college, what they studied, where they work, where they live, how many kids, are they in good health, yada, yada, yada.
That's so
and
many
it's
things.
fantastic.
I love the
Yeah.
drama.
The mic, it's actually hilarious sometimes how many pets they own, the whole works, and it really gives that kind of narrative story to a game that could be so not personal.
Yeah.
It could just be sky high views of skyscrapers and ports, and that's all you'd need. But I think, and obviously the Paradox modding community is amazing as well.
Yeah.
Like I see somebody in your chat there, Adam, mentioned about CK3, which is a phenomenal game as well. Like, and again,
I played it for the first time this year and I really enjoyed it. I did it for like that Norse expansion. And I used to do it as like my Sunday game. I used to do like a little archaeology lecture for like an hour, and then I would play CK3.
Yeah.
It's feckin' brilliant, dude. And you don't even need the DLCs to be able to enjoy it. And that's the thing. I think that's why nobody's really pissed off with chilling out for Paradox DLCs, because I've managed to sink I don't know how many hours into CK3, and I think I've one DLC. And everyone, like, I stream a lot with Tabanji, as you know, Tabanji, Adam. We do CK3 and he has all the DLCs because he got it as a package deal. And so whenever I do multiplayer with him, I get access to all the DLCs because he hosts it. And obviously I'm getting a look at tours and tournaments and Royal Court and all that, and they're fantastic. They're worth the 20 quid or whatever they're costing. But the point is that they're not integral to the very fabric of the game, that you can't sink 1,000 hours into a game without them, you know. And City Sky is the exact same thing, and I've fallen in love with it. And another game that I'll throw in there with the same vibe is Anno 1800 is phenomenal. And any of you historical lovers out there of city builders and micromanagement, Anno 1800 is just phenomenal. Yeah, I don't even want to look at how many hours I've sank into that game. So all that, they'd be my recommendations for the year. And I'm obviously bringing a very city builder historical sway to it, but like, yeah, 100%. They're my recs.
Amazing. That's super cool. Just one more note on like the city skylines too, like historical mods. Like the city I think too is of course Boston. For a city with a wild ass urban history, with also very good historical maps. And like trying to do a city builder that as robust as City Skylines, but that follows Boston's development into history would be wild as hell, I believe.
You're 100% right. I haven't tried it with the mod, but I actually think it's even possible without it, because when the map spawns, it spawns in historical buildings like castles and graveyards and cemeteries and like little flour mills and stuff, and it encourages you to create tourist districts and areas of you know notoriety, if you want to put it that way. So like they include like a Notre Dame style church and stuff, and you can very easily create a historic center within your city and obviously have older style buildings, because you can choose the theme of buildings as well. So they don't need to be North American, they can be European, they can be, you know, whatever it might be. So you like, there's a lot to move around with. And as I said, this is the game without mods. This is the game without DLC. And as soon as the modding community get their hands on it, which they will in by February, and as soon as the DLCs start dropping, which they also will by February, if like ask me this question again in a year's time and I'll be like, Adam, somebody made a Boston map. Somebody put in like, you know, they put in the port, and they put in like old battlefield sites and everything. Like you're gonna have, I was about to say Vinegar Hill, and I was like, no, that's Ireland, it's Bunker Hill. I was like, but I was like, yeah, absolutely, you could see that happening. Sure, I remember in Sea Skylines 1 somebody did a map layout for Dublin.
Yeah.
Again, not one of the cities that Spider-Man could swing around, so I don't know why you'd do that, but you know.
All right. Amazing. Sounds like you got about time to get going though, so we will. Thank you so much for tuning in. My folks, if you haven't followed Steve yet, definitely make sure you do that. I'm gonna drop the link again in chat here. Steve's lovely. Streams all the time. Does a lot of really cool stuff, so super worth your time if you're looking for more history content here on this old Twitch.television. Much love.
Ahmed Athindu and Chris, it's a pleasure to meet you, really is. I know we're always in the same Discord together, but it's a really pleasure to meet you. You're super.
Likewise.
Super. And I will I'll hit you up about that identity
Oh, please, yes. Do.
Give me all that bibliography.
Yes.
All right, bye, gang. Much love. Okay, chat to you
Yep.
soon.
So long.
Ciao.
Bye. Right, well, I think I'm going to be the next one to jump
Yeah, me
ship
too.
because I'm going to have to leave in like 10-ish minutes, like more like 9 or 8.
That's fair. So,
too.
same question for the Salsa folks. What have you been up to? What's coming up here in January? And where can folks who are interested in what you're doing go find you?
Well, we are on Twitch at Save Ancient Studies. Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings, we'll do like this is our final week, actually only afternoon on Fridays, and then we will start again mid-January with Chants of Senar, which I have been stopping myself from playing after playing the demo and like falling head over heels in love.
It's a treat and a half, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know. When we played Heaven's Vault live, it was fantastic because I'm not a linguist, but I read out the sounds like as I assume they would sound.
Yeah.
So I read the signs as I assume they would sound. So that was great.
Amazing.
So I cannot wait for that. And I will actually have someone who knows about languages and inscriptions with me, so, because Julie Levy, who's another member of the team, will be with me. Yeah, you know Julie.
Yeah, Julie's still a delight.
Yeah, and we still have to finish Pentiment, so we will still be playing Pentiment. But yeah, I think like for me, not as Sasa, I'm waiting for Horizon Forbidden West to make it to PC because that's what I've been playing. I've been platinuming Horizon Zero Dawn, like the definitive edition, for this whole year. So next year, maybe the sequel, the gayer sequel. And of course FIFA, because it's FIFA, because it's soccer. I gotta do that. So not really historical games, and the Pharaoh DLCs once they come out.
All right. Amazing. Oh, looks like some folks in chat also have to get going, but wanted to take a second and thank you all for taking the time to stream about history, archaeology, mythology, etc. Bit older than the average viewer, probably as an elder millennial. Don't worry, KJ, I think still has our record, but that's fine. But you wish you had content like this when you were younger. Might have steered me into more academic direction, as a teen into these professions. Well, Skyrare Jim, it's been a delight to have you hanging out in chat. And you're always welcome. It's why we do this, so thank you so much. And whenever you gotta get going, happy holidays to you. Alright. Anyway, so yeah, so much for you guys. In non-streaming news, like you said, Horizon Forbidden West as a game you're looking forward to. Okay, what about you, Alex? What are you looking forward to?
So the big ones I'm looking forward to for next year is gonna be a packed year for mythology games, and like I don't think about the Roman Empire every day, but I do think about Hades 2 every. And like that game, like is gonna be out in early access in around in the spring, and that one is gonna be
spring already? No,
like early access, like so not the full game, but it's gonna be like I'm very on the fence if whether I should play it or not, because I want to know what it's like and what it is, but I also don't want to spoil the experience of experiencing the full thing when it comes out, I guess in 2025 or something, 2026 maybe. But that's too long to wait. So I'll probably play a couple of hours in early access, but that one I have such high hopes for. Other ones that I'm looking forward to is this other indie game called Mythwrecked Ambrosia Island, by this I think Scottish game designer or game studio called Polygon Treehouse that's coming out.
My folks, they're the team who made Rookie, which we played ages ago, and it ruled.
It's such a fantastic game. It's a non-violent game, so you explore and you talk with people, and you one of the mechanics is that you befriend the Greek gods who have all lost their memories, and you're supposed to restore them, but with artifacts and stuff like that. And it looks like there's a demo you can play. I think you can still play it. It wasn't just for the Steam Festival.
I think so. I at least still have it installed, so I don't know if you can still get to it. But if you have it, you still can play it.
Yeah, and that one is also going to be fantastic. I've spoken with the designer, and it's shaping up to be a fantastic game.
Yeah.
A third one I'm interested in is the Toroa that I think you've streamed a little bit in the Steam Fest, like this New Zealand Aotearoa Maori game, mythology inspired, that's coming out as also I think next year.
Yeah, it's currently
and-
says coming 2024. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, so you play as a bird, as a seagull, I think it, and that's why it's called
As-
Toroa. That's the yeah.
Burp
Yeah,
simulator.
Yeah, burp simulator, but it's like it has you meet like Maori gods and mythological characters, and it looks fantastic. And
That sounds really sick.
Oh,
Yeah,
the game is so pretty. It's all like
and
lighting mechanics. It looks, and it's incredibly charming, incredibly fun to just fly around.
Me and my wife honeymooned in New Zealand, so I'll have to give it a look.
Yeah, it's so like I think they also have a demo that you can. I don't know if you can still play it right now.
No,
They
I
had
don't
one for the
think-
next fest, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it still is up. But it was a real treat.
Yeah, and it's like we've played on our channel. We've last year, Skabma Snowfall, like this game made by Sami developers
Yes.
in Finland, and I just love how small game studios from underrepresented parts of the world get to represent or talk about their culture through games. Like this is something that we I think discussed not enough when we talk about games. Like it's always the mainstream thing that we talk about, and the culturally sensitive stuff we leave to literature, maybe film sometimes, but mostly literature. And the games do that as well, as Skabma shows, as Toroa shows, as this other game from this year, Chia. Shows as well, like based in New Caledonia, and I think it's such a cool thing that is a cool movement that is taking place, and there's a Discord for this
Oh,
game
really?
as well, and I think like every
yeah.
week they share like what is it, like Maori word of the week or something, or word of the day, and it's just it's a great way to learn about these things.
Yeah.
So-
It's great. I mean, that little trend, I think, probably starts with Never Alone, which is,
absolutely.
an utterly charming game. And if you haven't played Never Alone yet, go play Never Alone. Drop everything and go play that game. But I'm delighted to see people sort of pick up on that with, I've streamed Inua, which is also in Yupiat, with Toroa, with Chia, with Skabma. There's When Rivers Were Trails. There's a whole bunch of games of like various
Raji,
indigenous
too.
communities making a whole variety of stuff that is based around like their own cultural practices in a playable form, and it rules.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how that develops.
What is the other one? Is it like a weird Malacca as like an almost participant in that, except the dev team wasn't actually from the culture, they just consulted?
Chia, you mean, or
Mulaka. It came out quite a few years ago at this point.
oh, I don't know. that,
But it is... Oh, heck. Let me pull it up on... except that Firefox is chugging real bad right now for no reason. As soon as I can, I will pull up the art for it. Yeah, it's based on the Tarahumara. And on their culture. And it is just... It's very Zelda-like, and the dev team is not Tarahumara, but they consulted with folks and did a real good job with it.
I didn't know that one. I'm gonna add that to the wish list.
Yeah.
That's great. So I do almost have to go, but maybe before I go, I should maybe briefly explain where Asgard's Wrath 2 should go.
Yes,
on the...
please do, because I've not played it.
Yeah, I keep hearing ads for it, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, so it's another one of those. Like it came out last week or I think last Friday I think, and it's basically it's called Asgard's Wrath 2, but it's set in Egypt mythology, and it's so at the end of Asgard's Wrath 1, like Loki escapes and he travels to Egypt, and that's why you go there. And that's not the first time it's happened in games, which is interesting. It is as much, if not a bigger leap forward for VR storytelling than Nexus is, but the gameplay is not as interesting as far as I've played. Like it wants to be God of War so much, but it doesn't have that, like you don't feel it. And also, I'm gonna paint a picture of what the beginning of the game actually is. So but after the prologue, so you are this disembodied god that is traveling to Egypt, and you're traveling to a temple, and you're gonna find this character, what's his name, Araxis or Abaxis, something like that, and he's gonna be your avatar, Moon Knight, and so basically what you see him doing is he's looting the temple of Atun, so he's stealing the sun disk. But the way he does it, so there's this big open space with a small shrine, and on it's like the sun disk, and he has this bag of sand with him, and he weighs how much it's supposed to be in order to not activate this mechanism that
This sounds familiar.
It sounds very familiar, doesn't it? So that is why I would not suggest it goes as high as Nexus. I would maybe call it B or C, but maybe B because it does do much interesting things with the VR, but pure gameplay and story-wise, it would be C. So I will leave that to you.
Yeah, what you're describing is, as far as the history goes, that it's pretty C tier, where it's like drawing a lot from other media.
Yeah.
Like, not valueless by any means, still does some interesting stuff, tries to identify some fun references, but...
It seems like the biggest upside to it is that it's good for a VR game.
Yeah.
Which is not really a good metric on a gaming scale in general, I feel like.
And otherwise, it replicates exactly what God of War does. Like the codex has the exact same layout. Like you collect hack silver to upgrade your gear. Like it's the exact same thing.
In Egypt. Notably a place where hack silver is used. Yep.
Notably, like God of War hasn't been so far, so they wanted to get the jump on them.
Yeah.
And otherwise technically a Marvel. Otherwise, I think, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fair enough.
All right, so I do have to go at this point. But
all right, my
friends. Same here.
Yep. So
lovely.
both
So
of you,
long,
happy holidays. So lovely of you to come hang out. And again,
thank you for having us.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, I'll talk to y'all later.
I saw someone in the chat saying this has a big conference energy, and I really agree. Like this is,
Hey.
this is fantastic.
It's a round table.
Do this more often. This is great.
Guilty is charged, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye.
So long, guys.
Bye.
All right. So, Chris, what else have you been up to, playing, hanging out, doing?
So I'll be honest. Like I'm looking at this list and I'm terrible. I've only played like 2 of the games on this list. One of them was Age of Empires.
Yeah.
And the other one, actually, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I was in the alpha for Skull and Bones.
I also
think I
just
saw
came
you
out of the
stream the
closed beta. Yeah.
Beta recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in like the alpha for it, and I gave it a try, and I was like, I could see the potential out of this.
Yeah.
I think, but it depends a whole lot. Obviously, you only get like the smallest taste in these initial tests, so trying to see how it scales up on terms of those other things, it's hard to tell until it truly comes out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, right. My current state is it's an MMO. I have not found a historical MMO that I like yet.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment. And I definitely see how that'll. It seems like it wants to be like a grittier Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, but like I found the combat not as fun. Right? It's a like Sea of Thieves works because it's extremely not self-serious.
Yeah, it's really meant to be cartoony and goofy and silly.
Exactly.
It's like it's a parody of the Pirate Age.
Exactly. And so trying to do it like as a serious take on that in the Indian Ocean pirate sphere.
I do like that they picked a different setting though than Caribbean.
True.
I do like that.
And honestly, there's a couple of weird choices, but at least for like the Madagascar, Swahili Coast area that they let us play around in at first.
Yeah.
It's got all the same strengths and all the same weaknesses that Assassin's Creed typically does.
Okay.
Like their world stuff is real good, right? In terms of showing diversity, in terms of showing all the different languages that are spoken. But then in terms of like showing a lot of the material culture, kind of mushed together, but showing a lot of material culture from the communities of the Swahili Coast. Like,
okay,
that's all important stuff, and I'm glad it exists. At the same time, they call like a little square rigged dinghy a dhow, a famously
Right.
triangular sailed boat.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, at a certain point, like you kind of got to understand with these games, like you have to give them so much leeway, 'cause-
Exactly.
and you kind of it always becomes the question of us in our profession of like, do we have to give them that leeway? And it's like, well, we kind of just repeatedly give them the leeway, but
The
at a certain
problem
point,
is,
like,
who else is going to show the fucking
Yeah.
16th century? Right, that's not a grand strategy game in terms of this like rich,
exactly.
realist rendered world space. Who's going to show the Indian Ocean trade routes of the 16th or late 17th century?
Yeah, is it like is there a point where a little bit of inaccuracy for the sake of getting a new setting out there worth it? Like, is that, and that kind of becomes the question of like, do you want to take some sacrifices on stuff that they use for artistic flair or just like creative
Yeah,
adjustments?
Yeah.
Does that make the game a little bit more approachable to a broader audience?
and yeah, I think obviously yes, it's just where that line is. And the thing that disappointed me most is that the combat is just Black Flag combat, except now you have to take into account projectile speed.
Yeah, basically.
Right? It's like the weird gimmicky parts of Skull and Bones' combat, but you're not on the boat. Right, you are the boat.
Right.
And it's like, I'd enjoy it so much more if this was a game where I could get like 3-4 friends together, we'd be on the boat, we'd be sailing around this richly rendered Indian Ocean world, and there would just be shenanigans that happen.
Can you not? I'm pretty sure I played multiplayer in the alpha.
You can do multiplayer, but everyone's got their own boat. Right, so
that's
you'd be a
right.
convoy running around doing shenanigans, not the really emergent storytelling that comes from being on the boat and watching everything be on fire.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wasn't thrilled by it, but
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot more to do before the release comes.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that apparently they changed massive details from the first closed beta to the second closed beta, and that's spooky.
That makes sense.
Like,
Yeah,
they,
that's a big adjustment.
they changed several characters, like cut one character completely out of the story, replaced one with another
wow.
one. So apparently there's like big narrative changes involving re-recording lines happening 2 months before the release of an MMO.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's a nerve-wracking foreshadowing.
Yeah, so I'll be curious to see the full release. I'll be real curious to see how they do, areas that aren't East Africa. Because that's all we've seen so far. So if they do end up doing really cool stuff in Khmer or Bali or the Maraba coast,
Right.
like there's a lot of potential still to be had. It's just
True.
I don't really see a way in which I can do a lot. Like for at least the stuff I do, I don't really see a way in which this game it will be better as an MMO than a single player game. And like it doesn't have the narrative strength to carry it as a single player game so far.
Right. It's just going to kind of sit right in the middle of like not good enough to be an MMO or a single player game. Like it does both things, like just not enough.
Exactly. Which sucks, because I mean, even though this game has had the worst development in history, I do want it to do well because the setting is worth everyone's time. It's utterly fascinating.
Yeah, super unique.
And it's just I'm worried it's gonna have the same high points and the same low points as basically Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but an MMO.
Right, yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to hang tight and see how it turns out.
Exactly.
I know that it's not really on my it wasn't really on my wish list for the next year. I mean, so most of the games that I play I do a lot of like survival games.
Yeah.
Like, in the same realm as like Valheim, but then I also do like I think my most streamed game on Twitch is Ark. And then obviously this isn't really a survival, but I've been doing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 actually. I've been pulling that back in like an online setting.
Yeah.
So I use these games a lot of times just to like play around with the mechanics. Valheim, I did reconstructions of like Norse structures. And
I tried to do that with Valheim, and real struggle because you
it's
had to
hard.
do curves.
Yeah, so you have to really finagle with the settings in order to do stuff. It's possible. It's just really tough. I think I did. I have to dig it up. I did a video on YouTube a while back where I tried to do one of the Norwegian stave churches.
That's exactly what I tried to do, and it fucking sucked. The Borgen.
It's so
I tried to
hard.
do the Borgen one, which is the biggest, tallest, fanciest one, and it sucked.
Yeah, I did. I forget the name of the one that I did, but it was it was like this kind of small one nestled in like a fjord somewhere with like a really beautiful backdrop, but it has a curved back end.
Yeah,
and I managed to do it, and it basically involves like overlaying a number of like triangular pieces.
Oh.
So it doesn't really it doesn't look super pretty on the inside, but you can get it done. It's tough to do, but you can finagle it.
I tried to do it where like really trying to pay attention to the inside and like how would someone like actually exist in that space. That one by any chance?
I did a very strictly external rebuild where I was like, I'm going to make this try and look as close to no. Let me just pull it up. It's been like 2 or 3 years since I did it.
Fair.
Which is why I was like, I'm blanking on it. But
yeah, this is the one I tried to do, and you literally can't.
That's super tough. That one is super tough. But yeah, so I like utilizing these survival games. So in terms of like ones that I'm looking at for next year, there's one coming out called Nightingale that looks like it's going to be really fun, and it's kind of in a more.
That's the weird like
correct,
weirdly steampunk Fey realm one.
Yes, it's going to be kind of like Victorian steampunk kind of thing.
Good year for Victorian steampunk games. Holy moly!
Oh, I did the Oya Stav Church.
Oh, okay,
yeah. If I'll be honest, like all of my Norse work, and I'm terrible at Scandinavian pronunciations.
Don't worry about it.
Stav Church, and yeah, that one actually turned out okay, all things considered. I think like for just kind of like looking at it initially, that one worked out. And then I tried to do a Danish like round fort. Like one of their turf forts.
Yep.
Where
like
I used
Hellblade.
Yeah. Well, it was one of Harold's forts.
Oh, hell yeah!
I didn't do any. Yeah, I didn't try to do one specifically. I just kind of like took their general like cruciform shape and tried to build like a scale model of the round fort. It was really goofy. It took me so long. It took me like 2 full streams to just to dig out the circle around the thing, because I tried to do like a half scale model, and within Valheim doing a half scale model was still so big.
Yeah.
And then I had to do like a half scale long ship within it to show like the scale of where the long ship would fit within the circle of the round fort.
Oh no.
And it worked out okay. But it was again like it was half size, so it was just very big.
Yeah. It turns out like that's something I struggle with Valheim, is that I love that game. That would be a great game to get just like a bunch of us on to just like hang out and do stupid stuff with.
That would be really silly. It's been a while since I played it like legitimately.
Yeah, I did one with Sarah Nell Jackson some time ago. Unfortunately, they had to like take a break from streaming, but another person who does a lot of his like medieval history and games, and it was loads of fun to just run around and do silly stuff with.
Yeah, it would be cool to have like a whole bunch of like arcs with a vague understanding of the time period, because we could try and do like a legitimate reconstruction of like a village or something that would, even if it's not a reconstruction, even if it's like a construction in the style, like we might have a decent enough understanding like, oh, we don't need to rebuild Birka, but we can build a town that is Birka-esque.
Oh god, if we try to rebuild Birka, I would lose it. I would lose it. I would.
We would never get it done. We would spend too much time micromanaging.
Just doing the graveyard would kill me.
But yeah, so I mean, something like that could be fun.
Yeah.
But I love using these survival games, and even just like more general RPGs like Red Dead in the role play setting, like trying to do like role play characters that are either historically based or have something to do with archaeology. So I think that they're a really good vector for storytelling especially if you can get a good group together or if you can do something like that. And doing things along those lines can bring a lot of people into like learning about these subjects.
Yeah, I've never had luck trying to like, do history fun facts, as I like to call them, in like online multiplayer stuff. So
Sure.
it's lovely to see that. It's genuinely lovely to see that you are having much more success than I am, because
well, it's just like, yeah, it's tough to do, and you kind of have to like break a little bit of rules when you're doing stuff like that. But it's hard to play a good guy archaeologist in games like that. So a lot of times I use it as a vector of like what is it? Like on Red Dead, just as a good example. I had that character, Thaddeus Horngard, who is a questionably ethical archaeologist from the 1800s who utilizes a lot of like dynamite and stuff
proud
to
of him.
try and get it going. And so you're always like, maybe not the best way to be going about archaeology, but it answers a lot of questions about it. So, and it gets people thinking about it more.
Yeah. By the way, just shouting out Fearless Sun in chat is part of the dev team at Relic who worked on Age of Empires 4. So.
Hello, we were talking earlier about how Age of Empires is among our favorite franchises.
Exactly.
Lifelong.
I am super curious. I don't know if you're allowed to have it or if you have an answer, but why did Sultan's Ascent return to like the more narrative styling versus the documentary style of the base game? I'm fascinated by that choice. I don't dislike it. It's combining several historical chroniclers in a way that's super cool. But I'm just curious as to like, given that the actual scenarios are super similar, the narrative framing is totally different. Dev team at World's Edge, you work with Relic but not at Relic. Thank you for the correction. But still, also thank you for like all the work on AoE 4, because that game rules.
True.
Fair enough. That is totally reasonable answer. But yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed. Honestly, it's probably the best execution of the 5 campaigns so far. God, no, Fearless Sun, that's terrible news. I hate. Why has this been such a bad year for the field? What a great year for releases. What a horrible year for the field.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
But like, I loved what they were doing with like alternating between simulating a battle and simulating like a 20-30 year development of time in like a single thing. They just like alternate that, have some really fun gimmicks, and that's like, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Sultan's Ascent. It's good Age of Empires campaign design. I enjoyed it. Yeah, and Faith, also thank you for that gifted sub to Fearless Sun. Fearless Sun, I hope you enjoy all of the spins. I added more, Chris, I don't know if you saw them yet, but I added more emotes on my end.
Ooh, yeah, I saw that Twitch added a whole bunch more slots for like extra animated and stuff like that.
They added animated emote slots, and it's a joy. Turns out that was a good design. That was a good decision.
Yeah, I gotta make a few more. I only have like a couple that I have like tucked on there right now. It's been a while since I've been able to work on that stuff.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. Let's, since they talked about... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just in terms of looking ahead, I will say that another game that I'm very much looking forward to next year that's outside of the RPG survival, outside of the survival franchise specifically, Hellblade 2.
Oh god, that's next year too. Oh, heck.
It is. I mean, obviously, I assume you played 1.
Oh yeah, I actually know the historical consultant for 1.
I love that game so much.
Yeah,
I did an article on it for like a Twitter conference this summer.
I love that. Oh yeah,
it was
MAMG?
so good. Yeah.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah, it was such a good game. It just like it like I played it, I think, on a whim. Like I think somebody recommended it in chat and was like, "Oh, you should give this a try. It's got like vaguely Norse themes." Yeah. And I started playing it and was immediately like, "Oh, this is good."
Oh, this is really good. Yeah, Elizabeth Ashman Rowe at Cambridge. I actually nearly did a degree with her. She's a delight. And she told me, they gave her almost like total control to write all those story sections that are just retelling either stuff from the Eddas or from Volsunga Saga.
Right.
They gave her. They just said, "Go write stuff, and we'll put it in," which is probably for the best. I don't actually know she's involved in Hellblade 2, and honestly, I'm worried about Hellblade 2.
Yeah, I think Hellblade 2 is going to take a little bit more of a step away. So Hellblade 1 I thought was just like I thought it was amazing in the sense that it looks at Vikings as more of a villainous group than I think a lot of other games do. A lot of games like really protagonize Vikings. Or even when they're being a little bit more rough and tumble.
Yeah.
It's like they're still like kind of portrayed as like dude bro, like nice kind of guys, even in like the worst circumstances.
God,
but
think about
how much work.
Suck. Yeah, think about how much work AC Valhalla did to try and make Ivar Bainloisi remotely sympathetic.
Yeah. But it needs to be. It just needs to be like spoken about like how some of these tragedies affected groups, and so having like that entire collapse of your life happen because of a Viking attack and like the traumatic repercussions of that, and looking at Norse myth and Norse culture as an external protagonist, as somebody who's not a part of that. It was a fascinating playthrough.
Yeah, it is honestly one of my all-time favorite games. It's not one I have any intention of going back to soon, because that game is a lot. That game I have to be in a very specific mindset for, and then I will sit down and I will play the whole thing in one sitting, and it'll be like, okay, I need to sit with this for a bit.
The itch is scratched.
And then I won't touch it again for like 4 years. But
Right.
No, game's genuinely great. And I'm really worried with Hellblade 2, because nothing I've seen so far shows that they has really shown identifiable things from Norse culture apart from being in Iceland.
Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't really showed very much about the game at all, to be honest. Apart from tech, they're showcasing it more as like a proof of concept when it comes to tech advances and UE5.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hold out reservations until I start to see some like story trailers where maybe we're gonna get a little bit more than just like chanting and singing in front of a fire.
Yeah. Very much. I mean, it's great that Halung's doing the sound. Like, Halung rules. Let's just be clear. The Halung has some of the wildest life performances I've ever seen, and they're a great fit for what like Hellblade's whole vibe. So I'm thrilled for that. I'm real curious and real worried about how that game's gonna turn out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll wait and see. I guess maybe I'm trying to be optimistic about it. Oh. But I just given how good the first game was, I feel like it's hard for a studio to drop the ball that hard.
Exactly. Right. I mean, right. As far as like the doing interesting things and like leaning into the things that Hellblade was mind-bogglingly innovative regarding mental illness, trauma, and psychosis, I expect that's going to be an even farther step up. Like, so that game's going to have a lot of value and be fun and do really spooky things. I just don't know if those things are going to be Norse mythology.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, it might be trying to tie more into like the transitional period.
Yeah. I'll be curious. I'm excited for it. I forgot that that's also 2024.
Yeah. They haven't announced a time frame yet, but I think it's later on.
Well, let me just quick run down my list of the things I am most excited for that are currently slated to announce. The Thaumaturge, coming out in February. Sovereign Syndicate, coming out January 15th. Those are both CRPGs. One's in like early 20th century Russian Empire. You meet Rasputin in the demo. Sovereign Syndicate's Victorian Steampunk. Clockwork Revolution, releasing later in the year, also Victorian Steampunk. Rise of the Ronin comes out in February, Bakumatsu period Japan. Island of Winds, 17th century Iceland, no release date. South of Midnight, no release date yet, but set in the American Deep South. Chronic de Silencio, set in France in the 1970s. Hades 2, Mythract, Toroa, and Hellblade 2 now. And
Yeah.
that's 11 games, and it's December.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I mean, I will say, like, I think that, especially because you listed a number of Victorian steampunk games, I think that Lies of P maybe kind of triggered a bit of that might be triggering a bit of a pop in interest in the genre.
I think Disco Elysium, right, given that did a lot to popularize this, because Thaumaturge and Sovereign Syndicate are both explicitly inspired by Disco Elysium in terms of their gameplay analogs, and I'm fucking thrilled that CRPGs are having a renaissance.
Sure.
Like, absolutely delighted that, like, weird non-D&D, non-fantasy CRPGs are thriving.
I mean,
Feels good.
I mean, I grew up, like, one of the other biggest games that I had as a kid was Neverwinter Nights. Did you ever play that?
I actually never did.
Okay, so it was like a spiritual cohort to Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
They were both kind of releasing around the same time period.
Yeah.
It was just like it just took place in a different city on the Sword Coast.
Yep.
And those were among my favorite games. I used to play like the original Neverwinter Nights with its 2 expansions annually. And then when Neverwinter Nights 2 came out, like I would play through those as well. I thought the Mask of the Betrayer expansion I wasn't as big on. But point is, like, CRPGs in general, I agree, are like a huge franchise that really do belong. Like Baldur's Gate obviously is doing a tremendous amount for the genre right now.
God bless Larian.
Yeah, and I am one of those horrible people that hasn't gotten out of Act 1 yet. I don't own the game. I made the strategic choice to say that I do not have time to start Baldur's Gate 3, because the moment I do, I will be playing nothing but Baldur's Gate 3, and I can't do that to myself right now. Yeah, I mean the game is incredibly good. I've just been playing it since the very beginning of early access, so I've played through Act 1 like 5 or 6 times right now, and it's like I've hit the point where even though the changes came at launch, I'm like kind of dragging myself through it a little bit, and I'm waiting to get out the other side, and then I think it'll probably like continue chugging along.
That's fair. It's also definitely right. I know people who are like, "Oh yeah, we're doing on like our 5th or 6th playthrough already." I'm like, 1, how? 2, why? Because that's just not how I play CRPGs. I do my run, I have my run, and that is my story. No, I will often never touch them again. I am weird like that, where I will be like, it will be, or if I do touch again, it's like 5 or 6 years later, where it's like. No, my first experience is my experience with the game. I have played that, and we are, like, as long as it's narratively satisfying, I'm done. I had my experience, rock out.
Yeah, I'm a huge D&D player in general, so for me, like, when I do replays on CRPGs, it's mainly for build testing.
That's
I'm like,
fair.
I want to try a new character concept. I want to try like this new other, like, I want to see how these classes work together. And like, especially with games that limit the amount of party members you can have, I'm like, I want to try and do the story now with the new party members. Especially because I actually garnered a little bit of controversy on TikTok because when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, the first playthrough I did that I streamed, I cheesed the game so that I had 4 custom characters instead of using any of the written party members.
Ooh.
And
that's gonna make people big mad.
And so it did. And like a lot of people got really frustrated, but then a lot of other people pointed out, they're like, you know what? Like, I see the appeal, with the idea being that with that game, whoever you're like controlling or whoever's closest to a conversation is the character who triggers it. So what I ended up doing was kind of doing this playthrough where I had all of them were Viking themed.
Yeah.
So I had like a sort of like Viking fighter character. I had a like dragonborn sorcerer who was very Fafnir inspired. He was a poison sorcerer.
Sure.
I had like a ranger rogue kind of person, and then I had a cleric who was very Thor inspired. So it's like, so I tried to have these different characters all have their own stories within the campaign, and even though none of them were voiced, I managed to do it. Yeah. Where I was like, oh, this character is very interested in this specific type of event and thing and person. So whenever those people came up, they would talk with them. And I thought that made a really compelling way to tell multiple stories at the same time. not everyone agreed.
Yeah, it's TikTok. It's a silly place. I don't go there.
Yeah, right. That's totally fair.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I've been playing a crap ton of Dragon Age Origins on stream, having a great time with it. But I have been
That's one of my favorite RPGs as well.
I've
That's
been
definitely
feeling-
like a top 5 for me.
I hated the beginning. It's gotten steadily better since the beginning.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think that the relationship between the mages and the Templar in that game is one of the best like faction designs. Like the fact that these powerful mages are being like kept under this religious order and like and guarded and managed with them. I was like, that is so like story driven and compelling.
Yeah, and I know other Dragon Age games are gonna like futz with this, but the thing I particularly like in Origins is that neither of them are like bad. Like, the game does a lot to make it clear that the Templars, I mean, yes, they are forcibly lobotomizing mages. That sucks. But they're also doing a lot to actually help and protect the people of Reldon in this moment of crisis, and are willing to let the Grey Warden kind of step in, futz with things, and they like they're not getting tied up in comically evil Loghain shenanigans. They're, broadly speaking, full of well-intentioned people who are conditioned by the social structure that they are in to have a really nuanced but still oppressive relationship. And that's just, it's really well executed.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, yeah, you're meant to sit here. You're meant to sit here and be like, oh my god, these Templars are just like, they're enslaving the mages. It's this horrible thing. But at the end of the day, the mages can and do get turned into monsters. They get turned into abominations that are like mindless demons that just run rampant. It happens, and like, it doesn't happen to everyone. And I don't think that anyone deserves to be like, enslaved or stayed within that structure for the possibility. But it's enough of an issue that it needs to be addressed, and it's fascinating to me. I don't know. I just love that a lot.
Also, like, I mean, we just like, not last stream, the one before that, rescued Connor, got the good outcome there. But like, the Templars, that may just be a writing constraint, but like, the Templars didn't get in our way and be like, no, he's turned into an abomination, you know how this goes.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, no, the Circle is allowed to deal with Circle business, and it is okay that we're not going to, like, hover and micromanage it. Go forth and go save this kid. And so it's... like, it executes that nuance really well, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it as just like a vehicle to spin up like fun random history facts. That is a game that works great for fun random history facts.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, I love the Dragon Age franchise. Like I said, it's probably among my like top 5 franchises, and I'm excited and curious for you to continue on.
Yeah.
A lot of people consider 2 to be like really trash, but I encourage you to slog through it for some of the storytelling elements, particularly around the Mage Templar relationship, which is highlighted very strongly in 2.
Yeah.
And then 3 really kind of shows like the development of the series. It like moves a little bit forward in time, and it makes it makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So if you have the time and the motivation, I encourage you to continue on with it.
Time is going to be the big thing. I don't know if I've told you my 2024 plans, but anyone who's like tuned in recently, my 2024 plans are Japanese history, through game space. So we're effectively calling it the Ludo History Weebark. But yeah, like, I'm trying to do all of it, from, Jomon period, prehistory, all the way through to ideally World War II, but what that actually means, or how far we'll actually get is, so I've got a games list finally set up, and I'm realizing how ginormous the holes are, but it's like, hang on, where's the sticky note with the list of games?
Well,
that's a different sticky note with a... Oh, it is not at all organized, don't worry. Let's see. Okami, Age of Empires, Genji Dawn of the Samurai, the Genpei War DLC for Neo 2, Age of Empires 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Sekiro, Neo 2, then Neo, AC Red, Total War Shogun 2, Shadow Tactics, EU4, Like a Dragon Ishin, because I want a Yakuza game.
Sure.
That fun colonialism with a little, like, Korean mobile game port called Pechka, Rise of the Roman, something for World War II, something for World War I, something for World War II, and there's almost no Taisho period stuff for the in-between. So I don't know how that's gonna work. Plus stuff that University of Texas Austin has put out with their Japan lab, plus
Ooh.
other museum stuff. They've got interactive maps of the Sengoku Jidai,
That's
which
very
is
cool.
very helpful to deal with the Sengoku Jidai. But like, fully half the games on that list are dealing with the Warring States period, the Sengoku period. And so there are 0 games for the Heian until you get to the Genpei War.
Right.
So fully 300 years of history that I have to do something else to fill in the gap with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there will be some really interesting ones. So Minamoto no Yoshitsune and Oda Nobunaga are going to get really good coverage. And everything else is going to be interesting. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I wish you luck on all that.
Yeah, it's just, that means on top of the, 12 games that I'm hyped for in 2024,
You're also gonna have to squeeze those in.
plus, hopefully starting up a new, actual job that's going to take a bunch of hours.
Oh,
So,
well, yeah, that'll do it.
I don't know how we're going to do this in 2024. It's going to be an adventurous year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm super excited, though. It's going to be a good time. Yeah. Anyway, you said that you haven't played most of anyone else on this list, right?
Yeah, I'll be straight up. I haven't played any of them.
That's fair. Did you play the original Valiant Hearts when it came out?
No, that's one of the war games, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or
it
is
came
that-
out 2014 for the Centenary.
So I think I've seen clips, but I haven't played it.
That game's real good.
Yeah.
Valiant Hearts Coming Home was released this year on Netflix as a mobile game,
Oh, yeah, it's one of their Netflix games.
which is tough. Ultimately, it's Valiant Hearts, but not as good.
Okay.
Right, Valiant Hearts is one of the great games, probably the greatest World War I game ever created.
Yeah.
So, being it but not as good is still not a bad game by any metric. But
Yeah.
it's set a little bit later, near the end of the war. It follows a different set of characters, and is weirdly musically focused.
Huh.
At the end of every chapter, you have a concert that is a mobile rhythm game.
Oh, that's neat.
It's real neat, and I love getting 1910s early jazz.
Yeah.
That sort of not quite Roaring Twenties soundscape, but
Yeah.
almost there. And really trying to so that was fun. Having that more soundscape focused and instrument focused bit was fun. But the rest of the narrative, the twists and the gut punches that make Valiant Hearts great don't work as well the second time around.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there's plenty of games that I'd only really have an interest in playing through one time.
Yeah.
Speaking of, did you ever play Atomic Heart that came out this year?
I did not. I was meaning to, but then again, ran out of
It was
ran out of
so
time.
goofy. It was so goofy. It was weird because it's
Yeah.
it
Tell us more about it.
it tried to do a lot of Fallout things, but then it also had a lot of really, really weird tongue-in-cheek jokes, about a lot of effeminate robots that were being treated very weird.
That's-
And a refrigerator that had very strong opinions about the protagonist.
Huh.
But the game itself was a really interesting take on. It's kind of it's basically the same sort of concept as Fallout, only the idea being that early Russia at that time period was the one who blossomed and benefited after the wars, as opposed to early America.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like a I don't want to say a Stalin-esque utopia, but kind of a Stalin-esque utopia, where like it highlights it in a way that shows off like the worst sides of it, of like the control elements, the dangers of advancing like AI and tech, just kind of like those very like City of the Future. BioShock is another big one that it kind of invokes.
Yeah.
And but as far as like the gameplay goes, it did have a lot of BioShock elements. Like it had like these sort of augments that you could give yourself to have like pseudo magic powers, and then gun crafting and all of that that made it like fun on the surface for that. But it was just such a weird one, and an interesting look at like a very specific time period and like the changes that could have happened.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I was really interested by the time period because, you know, doing the same 1960s retro futurism, but Soviet bloc could have been so goddamn cool.
Yeah. So responding to your chat, it's not that I don't think it ignored World War II stuff. It's that it happened it happened just before World War II. I think it takes place between 1 and 2.
Huh.
And so that's why like it doesn't really address a lot of that stuff. It takes place after World War I, I believe.
Spooky.
So that's also kind of like a time period that I feel like isn't addressed in gaming as much.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's so much focus on World War II that a lot of World War I stuff doesn't match up. Like it doesn't get addressed as much.
Agreed. Speaking of, to go back to one on the tier list, if you want one that addresses it phenomenally, Last Train Home. It alternates between being a very resource management simulation game and an RTS.
Okay.
Because
I like RTS.
Yeah, it's like a really stealth, small squad-based RTS, and it's real neat. But setting-wise, it's in the Russian Civil War, where you play as the Czechoslovak Legion.
Okay.
And the goal is to cross Russia to a ship waiting for you in Vladivostok, and you start on the Russian-Ukrainian border. And the Red Army sucks the entire way through.
Right, okay.
The White Army is only marginally better, but the Red Army really sucks. So they wreck your ship, they kill your commanding officer, you're thrust into command, or they wreck your train, kill your commanding officer, you're thrust into command, and your job is to get your one train, at whoever you're able to save, out while sending people off the train to go do missions, beat up Red Army soldiers, attempt to save other legionaries. And, I mean, yeah, GeneralSte describes this like Oregon Trail meets Company of Heroes. And that's not a bad sum up, but it works real well. They partnered with the Order of Czechoslovak Legionaries in Prague to like really make sure they understand the aesthetics and material culture of the time period, and make some really smart decisions to get the sense of like the alternating, really forced boredom of being stuck on a train going through Siberia, and the super intense, stressful action of when you have to get off the train to go do a fight.
Right. That kind of makes sense. That's interesting.
And
I feel like I'm going to go through, because you posted this list on that Discord, I feel like I'm going to be going through and wish listing a lot of these.
There's a lot of good games on here. I think this is one of the best history games I've played. In terms of being, also, they're super self-aware. That like they were like, we are not doing the actual political history in any detail. This is completely historical fiction. Don't think any of the people except, Leon Trotsky is a real person.
Right. I like when games do that. I like when they really kind of like allow themselves to be wrong, but not in a way that makes it seem right.
Exactly. Did you see the talk Josh Sawyer just uploaded to YouTube like a couple days ago on Pentiment and historical fiction?
I did not, but I did hear you talking about Pentiment a whole lot, and obviously putting Pentiment in the slot of S tier is making me consider it a lot more.
Yeah, that game is something remarkable. Like, it's totally unlike... It's more interactive novel than anything else. But I
think it's on Game Pass, isn't it?
It is on Game Pass.
Okay, then I will most likely be checking that out soon.
Hell yeah.
I'm coming up on a point where I'm gonna need a new game to slip into the repertoire because
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Lethal Company. Have you seen
That
this game?
looks real fun.
So it's so fun. It's so goofy for no reason, no history at all, nothing to do with history in the slightest. But it's so funny, and but I think I'm nearing the end of the Lethal Company arc, so maybe I'll pick up Pentiment to fill in the slot.
That makes sense. But no, that game looks real fun, and frankly, it would be very silly to get a bunch of people and pretend that we are actually archaeologists.
Right. So I had considered that of like, oh, how would we look at this from like an archaeological standpoint?
Right. I feel like
And it would just,
Forewarned
like,
is
we'd all be
just
dead.
objectively better. Right. Forewarned is just objectively better in that same genre for trying to pretend to be archaeologists. But it would be very
I love
funny.
Forewarned so much.
It would be so funny to just like do Lethal Company and be like, ah yes, we're going to go forth and do oh god, I'm dead.
Yeah, it would. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, if you come into a situation and you're like, oh, like, we got to look at we got to look at these things that we found here within the site, and we need to like analyze it within the context of everything. And by the time you even like begin to lay things out, you're getting eaten.
Yeah. And also, you go to what is it, experimentation, and you get like the horrifying creepy girl that will just blow your head off.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's like, why is there a spooky manor in the middle of nowhere? What mystery is here? We all got eaten and exploded, and it's a terrible time.
I feel like, and the thing about like playing that game is it evokes such like visceral reactions that you're not expecting.
Yeah.
Like I'm like playing it. I feel genuine fear when I'm entering certain situations that I'm like, I need to leave. Like, I gotta leave. I gotta go outside and like take a breath before I can handle this again.
And then you order something from the store, and you have a dance party, and everything's better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's real good. I've been watching a lot of folks playing it, like Dan Jones and Barry Kramer, and folks, and it's just a delight. That's a great game.
So silly. It's so silly because like Forewarned and Phasmophobia are obviously really great games for that too, and you get some really good reactions out of them, and they're so much fun. And this is in the same genre of like go in, do the thing, come out, and like you have somebody in the ship that like monitors the computer and stuff. But I feel like the reactions that I get out of this game are much more visceral. Although to be fair, Forewarned also does have enough jump scares that really get me going.
Yeah.
This one I feel like I get some really intense reactions.
Amazing. I am thrilled it's doing well. I'm excited to see what that game does because it's just a good time.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah. Anyway, though, you want a game that I weirdly did not put on the list actually because I didn't stream it, but I know you played and I know you have strong opinions of that came out this year. Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, I'm gonna be straight up. So I tried to stream it once on stream, and I was on hotel internet, and it basically turned into a montage of still images.
Yep.
So
the slideshow experience, the slideshow experience, we love to see it.
Yeah. So I ended up playing it a bunch off stream, and it is. I was so surprised at how archaeology played a role in this game.
I am continuing to try and like gush about put my gushing into coherent order for something about how cool the ancient Hyrulean tablets are.
It's unbelievable. Just an entire language and people who are like in charge of like deciphering it, and as you go, you're learning that. There's the freaking archaeological site at the Kakariko.
Yep.
And you try to go in, they're like, excuse me, this is like a legitimate archaeological site. You can't come in here. And I was like, oh, okay. And I left and I never went back. I was like, they're doing work.
Yeah.
They'll release their results on a paper, and then I'll read it, and then I'll save Hyrule.
That's fair. I did eventually get in after persuading them that the plot happened.
Right. I guess you have to hit a certain point. I haven't hit that point yet.
Yeah.
I've just been gallivanting about in the lower area trying to find stuff.
That's fair. The depths suck. I love them, but they suck.
Oh my god, it's fun. I should pick this game up again. I didn't beat it.
I'm going to be traveling a whole bunch of like the next couple weeks, and I intend to do another full run of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cause and also it's Middle English. It's not Old English, but yes, as far as I can tell, this is a localization choice. I can't read Japanese, so I don't know if they actually used like archaic Japanese.
I feel like they had to have.
But the German and the French localizations don't have that. It's just in German and French. So this might be an English localization decision to render those tablets in Middle English.
It could be.
And it's
I mean, that's not a terrible idea.
No, it's like my favorite decision I've seen like a otherwise fantasy game do in a long time. It's like it's not perfect Middle English, but it is genuinely pretty good 14th century Middle English, and I feel like that's real smart for like a 9 million reasons. And I literally turned off my Switch and spent 5 minutes laughing my ass off when I saw it the first time.
Yeah. It was just like it's such a neat take on things, and I love how there's like you're seeing very different vibes. Like so much of the upper areas, like the upper floating areas, evoke tons of Greek myth to me. Like the kind of golden grasses and the leaves laying down around all of these sort of like colonnades and like stone temples. It's very Grecian. Absolutely. But then there are other elements that are like so incredibly Mesoamerican with their art, with their stylistic choices and with the like costume and item design, that it just like it takes all of these different elements that and just kind of showcase different parts of history. I love it. I think it was great.
Yeah, and a lot of the Sheikah stuff is Jomon, so like I mean if you try and match that to any sort of chronology, it breaks down and gets weird as hell real fast. But that's not the point, right? The point is, if you're looking at taking like real world aesthetics and then like recombining them into a world where they aren't in the same chronological order, but using them to evoke different feelings, right? They do there's so much to be said about how cool that game is.
True. I mean, the first one too, Breath of the Wild, was a phenomenal game. It didn't have as much archaeology in it, admittedly. It had like certain elements of it, like with the Guardians and stuff sunken into it. And
it had a lot of like intra-franchise archaeology, right?
Yeah, it had as much as any other Zelda game, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them evoke that sort of time and like history and like the cyclical nature of like, you know, the Triforce story.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it has a little bit more just because this version of Hyrule is so layered in references that...
Tears of the Kingdom is like a straight-up Archeo game.
But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom is like
ways.
Archaeological practice. Right, it's not something you impose on the game. It is something the game begs you to do.
Right, yeah. I will say, like, I feel like it's just like archaeology and Archeo gaming and like the ideas of like of how a setting's history plays a role in the story has been on such a huge upswing in general in games recently, where even games that you wouldn't call an Archeo game still have that element to them.
I agree. There's been a lot of that, and I don't know if it's just people have realized like lore videos go mega huge, and so everyone's like, give us lore, and that's just archaeology, but weird flavor.
Give us lore. It's just archaeology. It's just written archaeology.
In a lot of ways, though, right? Like you don't do history practice when you're deciphering lore. You're doing archaeology and epigraphy. Because there isn't the like length of text that you need to do historical practice.
Gosh, now I just want to go back and like re-grind through this entire game.
Understandable. I don't know if I'll have time to stream it, but I finally have a capture card, so hopefully there will be.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm
going to be testing it with Okami and then doing more with.
They're simpler than you think. They tend to work out pretty. I got one for hotel streaming. That's what I was doing. I was streaming the Switch from the hotel.
Makes sense.
And it was It was working when the hotel internet was working.
That's fair. Yeah. Let's pivot on to I guess on the idea of like lore deep dives. Blasphemous.
Sure. I'm probably also going to be dipping out of here in the next few minutes, but happy to talk about another subject through with you before I go.
No, if you gotta get going, that's totally fine. Then I just wanna ask you the same question I've asked everyone else. Like, out of everything
Right.
you've played over the course of the year, what is a favorite? And if you have to pick one for 2024, what's coming up on your channel? What are the things you're excited for? What are the things you hope to get to do?
So as far as the games that I played this year, I mean, like, I think that the majority of my year has been defined primarily, like, early on, I played a tremendous amount of Diablo 4, but that was mostly because my cousin worked on it.
That's a good reason.
So I had to support him, but I also did point out some interesting things about like Diablo 4 in terms of I don't know if you saw this, but the ad campaign for that game, they took over. There was a French church.
Yes,
It was a deconsecrated church, so it didn't have any more religious influence culturally, but they took it over and they kind of recreated these frescoes and like friezes and stuff along the walls to kind of make it look like within the game. And I thought that was an incredibly interesting new take on archaeogaming, like utilizing real world settings for a video game context.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff with like museums doing it, but like taking a whole ass church was not something I had on my bingo card.
Yeah, that was such a crazy move. And when they and so seeing that in play, I was like, wow, that kind of like changes a lot of things. And it's interesting to see how digital spaces are entering real historical worlds. And like, how does that change the archaeological context of that building? Like, is that building still, like, when you look it up moving forward, is that going to be like, you know, the church of this region that was like, you know, a center post of the community for such and such, however many years? Or is it, oh, that's the Diablo 4 church?
Yeah.
And now, like, moving forward throughout like, look at it for like 50 to 100 years from now as an archaeological site. Is it going to be viewed as a real life archaeological site for its church purpose, or is it going to be looked at as an gaming archaeological site for its connection to Diablo?
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be a really weird way that we move in a direction.
And a related question, right? Is there a cottage tourist industry that springs up around this site in the short term?
Interesting. I don't know if there has been so far, but that is a cool idea.
Right? I have no idea. But in terms of like thinking through, right, archaeological theory and object agency theory, name a more definitive one than literally the use case of a site could have like meaningful economic impacts. I don't know if that's going to happen with this one, but it's a when, not an if, that's going to happen with this bleed between digital and physical spaces.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was very interesting to think about, and looking at how that might change things was very fascinating. But anyway, I played a lot of that this year. Yeah. But then on top of that, I ended up doing, like, you know, obviously I went really hard on Red Dead Redemption 2 and doing role play on servers for that, playing like historical or archaeological characters. Yeah. I'm doing the same thing a lot with Ark Survival Evolved now with a server that I've been on for a couple of years, doing like archaeologist characters. And but other than that, I just tried to like sprinkle in other history games. I played Northgard. Did you ever play Northgard?
Yes. The RTS guy, right? Or the
yeah. It's like a hex tile RTS game. I like that one. I also try to do Hunt Showdown, which is like a shooter game, but it's also in the same vein of like Wild West era, like late 1800s, early 1900s. So that kind of showcases some history elements of like what residences or like, you know, small settlements might have looked like in the bayou at that time period.
Okay.
And then just other kind of scattered games throughout, a lot of like just goofy ones, you know. But and then again, as far as 2024 is concerned, looking forward, I'm most likely going to be getting Nightingale. I'm most likely going to be getting Hellblade 2. Those are two of the big games that I have like on my and then I will almost certainly get Hades 2 as well.
Yeah.
Hades was the game that made me quit Valhalla cold turkey.
And frankly, good choice.
Yeah,
Thank
I think
God
I
bless
don't even think I got
Supergrind.
halfway through Valhalla. I don't think I even got halfway through Valhalla, and then Hades dropped, and I played it once, and was like, "Well, I'm done with that other game now."
Yeah.
And I played Hades for the next like month.
That's fair. I still haven't gotten like through all of the story for Hades. I've gone through like half of it because it just takes
I think I've
so many
completed like
runs.
one run. I've only
Yeah.
like actually completed 1 or 2 runs. I'm not great at it, but I have fun with it.
It's exactly. It's just a good fun game to run around, do some murder with. Amazing.
But yeah, so that's what I'm expecting.
Amazing. So to my folks, if you want to check out any of that, I just dropped the link again. I think I spelled it correctly. To
Yes, you
your
did.
stream. So if folks want to hang out, give Chris a follow. That's lovely. We love hanging out, supporting, like building community out of this. This is something I've been like meaning to do all year and have not had time to. But it's great to get a bunch of us in the same spot and just to hang out a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I had that chat with Melissa the other week, and now
Yeah.
coming in here and chatting with all of you guys, I think that this is something that like is a lot of fun that
Yeah.
I'd love to do more of, like getting together with other archaeologists and kind of powwowing over these ideals. I think is a really cool and fun thing to do.
Hell yeah. All right. So you're welcome to hang out as long
thank
as
you
you've
very
got.
much.
But if you gotta get going, happy holidays. I hope you have a good night.
Same to you. Same to
spin.
chat.
Give,
Thank you,
give
everyone.
a spin for Chris.
Bye.
All right. All right, gang. We've got a lot of games. So let's reset the Christmas playlist, and let's try this again. Let's keep going. Spin. Yeah. Isn't that lovely? That was real lovely to get a bunch of folks come and hang out, talk about what they've been doing. And we got a good number of games in here. We've got a lot more stuff to do. The spin exists. Exactly. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Have some new animated emotes. Courtesy of Twitch having more animated emotes. I suppose on the same vein, if anyone is just tuning in, of course, do say hello. And if you want to support the channel and unlock these great spins for yourself, do consider subscribing. Because right now subscriptions are discounted on Twitch. So all subscriptions, Prime subs, gifted subs, cheered bits, all that stuff just goes to help support the channel, help support everything. And you unlock, look at that guy, look at that cat. You want that cat for your life. So if you feel like it, it is super appreciated. And regardless though, do make sure you just hang out, say hello, talk about the games we played. Because this is a super chill time. So thank you to Space Panini for helping animate those emotes. And yeah. Between that and the Pop Frog, it sadly does not spin on the screen. But it does spin on the screen over there. Look at them go. Look at them go. Pop Frog. Look at him pop. Amazing. Let's get back into this, take a look at some of the other things we played this year. Or the internet can crash. Or the internet can crash. That's a fun and exciting time. Chad, are you still with me? Why did that die? I'm so confused. Hang on. Well, we're still getting alerts. So, Mountain Astray, thank you for the 2 months of Prime sub. Glad to see you. Been a while. But thrilled you're here. Alright, we got music back. Just YouTube crashed. Not everyone else. Still spinning? Alright, still spinning. God, that pop emote is just... It's beautiful. Matsumoto Hoji, I don't think this was what you intended with your depressed Zenfrog. But, it is beautiful, and I love it dearly. Alright, let's talk about more games. It was brought up earlier, but, Chance of Sennar, continuing the, train of utterly phenomenal games. I'm putting this up in A tier. Right, and like top of A. It's not quite S tier. And here's why. I think Heaven's Vault, I prefer how Heaven's Vault does language deciphering mechanics. That's it. That's the only thing keeping it, is that I think there are other games that do this sort of take on language deciphering a tiny smidge better. But it is a small smidge. And in terms of, like, hitting you with weird stuff, like, that game's narrative rules. It's got everything. It's got the happy fun times. It's got the spooky stealth section. It's got the weirdly scary section. It's got the fun puzzles. It's got the endgame twist. It hits all the marks. While being a great chance to take a look at some basic linguistics, some morphosyntax. Have a great time. Well, fair enough. You're making petticoats and stuff right now, so not really tragic. That's valid. It's valid. Also, yeah, the aesthetic of this game. Insane. Right, when we go into the second area, and the sky goes purple, and it's all brutal, it's like, as brutalistic as brutalism can get. Like, yeah, it rules. There's so much to love about this game. In contrast, we're gonna drop Ravenbound. Chat, do you even remember Ravenbound? We streamed it exactly once. Like, there's not a whole lot of streaming of this happening. It's not because it's a terrible game. It just, yeah, exactly. It's a vaguely Norse mythology-inspired roguelite. It did have werewolves. It's otherwise actually frankly unmemorable. Honestly, we're gonna put that... Actually, that might even go there. Ultimately, right, it wound up being a little bit mechanically jank, and generally unmemorable. And being unmemorable in a mythology game is just... That's tough, dude. Like, exactly, you transform into Crow, you fly around, you dive down, you de-transform to Crow, you fight people, and it's fine. But, like, it's Norse mythology. It's one of the weirdest bodies of literature, that can exist, and you made something that's fully unmemorable. Alright, Faith. Thank you for tuning in throughout the year. It's been lovely to have you. You know where to find us. Coming up, I'll see you in the new year. So, happy holidays to you too. Let's see. What else have we got? By the way, again, these are just the new releases. This wasn't everything we played. This wasn't even close to everything we played. This is just the new releases. Oh yeah, Blast 2. We were going to talk about Blast 2 before Chris had to go. Nah, actually, this is another A tier. This is another, like, extremely high A tier. If y'all haven't played Blasphemous 1 and 2, Blasphemous 1 and 2 rock. Like, they are... The thing they do that no one else does is understand just how utterly horrifying Catholicism is. Like, holy shit, Catholicism's dark, y'all. And this game really digs into, like, early modern Spanish Catholicism and the psychological effect that has on the various people. Phenomenally. Like, it does Christianity better than anyone else does. And that includes Pentiment. Like, it gets at the, like, contradictions of pain and joy of Catholicism in a way that literally no other game has ever done. It's also, you know, Blasphemous 1 was a bit jank to play. Blasphemous 2 mechanically is fun as hell. It weirdly does some Gnosticism at the end. I mean, we somewhat expect that, but it does some Gnosticism at the end. And, like... But... I don't know, I feel like it actually loses points for me from Gnosticism just because, like... It went Gnostic? To justify its... Instead of sitting in its ambiguity and its darkness, it kind of escaped that through, like, Gnosticism and there being a demiurge. But in terms of a video game take, It's such a video game solution to the problem. I can't hate it for that. And in terms of what it does well, there is so much to love. It is a phenomenal game. And I'm so happy that it got such a, like, that Blasphemous 1 got such a satisfying sequel. Because, yeah, it's good. Alright. Let's go from big highs to big lows. Great War Western Front. The idea here is that this is a strategy RTS, or, well, again, alternates between grand strategy and an RTS for its battles to simulate the utter stagnation, like a very board gamey stagnation of the Western Front. But the AI is dumb, your AI is stupid, their AI cheats like hell. It doesn't do a good job on preserving battles. It actively punishes you for having anything resembling an offensive, so, you know, engaging with the mechanics. And just generally needed more time to cook mechanically. I like what they're doing in terms of, like, trying to explain, in a game format, why is the Western Front of World War I so static? Their solution to that was not fun to engage with. And so it kind of wasn't... I didn't have a good time, particularly good time playing that. I think basically nobody in chat was having a good time watching me play it. It just wasn't for me. And frankly, I think its mechanical unpolish hurts it too much for the good attempt it had. So Jakista, Counterpoint the Penitent one needs some good stuff to happen to him once in his life. Valid. Happy endings are not cowards' options. They're good. So, we've been going up and down and up and down, good game, bad game, good game. Let's go weird. Let's go, like, I almost can't rate Landfall Archives. Because it's something unlike everything? Like, it's unlike any other game on this list, to be sure. If you don't know what the Landfall Archives is, the Landfall Archives is a bunch of prototypes that were compiled together and packaged by the Swedish studio Landfall Games, who are the folks behind Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. So it's there's a bunch of prototypes of various projects that got scrapped over the years, compiled together and released just for free as their own mini archive of the, like, back end of work that goes into this. And that's neat. Like, that is on a very meta level of game preservation and game archiving. Super duper neat. It doesn't, like, it does not do a historical setting. It is an extremely meta look at the history of game development within a specific studio. And literally almost like just wandering through a corporate archive. It is weird. There's a bunch of super unpolished stuff. There's a bunch of, like, super strange stuff. I don't know what to do with it, but it was a good time. The noodle people were distressing. The noodle people were extremely distressing. Some fun stuff in there, right? Now let's hit another fun one. Honestly, most of the rest of these, right? Let's just finish tiering them. Book of Hours, fantastic. Season, really good. Bramble, meh. I'm a bit hit or miss on it. It's not bad, it's just fine. And Survival, down there. Right. Book of Hours, I've been playing a bonkers amount of Book of Hours, right? In terms of the game, let me just show you. In terms of the game that I've been spending the most time with, my top played game is Book of Hours in my Steam recap. Like, I've been playing the crap out of this game and I'm still nowhere close to done. Book of Hours rules. Book of Hours is targeting me and me specifically, because it is do rare books archiving. Right, it is just go be an archivist. Go work in rare books. And it me. Actually was my job when I started this. So I would come home from my job to play my job, but in the game. Any plans to finish it? I think, honestly, at this point, it is I feel like streaming, let's go play some Book of Hours. Rather than something I can afford to dedicate, project time to, if that makes sense. Season was a very similar game. If you didn't get Season when it came out, go get that game. I mean, all of these super duper indie games, Book of Hours, Blasphemous 2, Chance of Senar, Inkulinati, Season, they're worth your time. They're super duper worth your time. They're all extremely cozy, extremely charming, having a great time with them. I loved what Season was doing. I loved its photography mechanics. I loved the premise of, that there's a deadline on this world, or on this area of the world, and the only record that'll be left is yourself and what you chose to document. And I love that. I love just biking around, just having a cozy time, taking photographs of stuff, messing with the filters. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of, intrigue and, capital L lore behind it, but really the charm of the game is just going around doing this. Oh, Black Myth Wukong! I forgot that's also... Alex, that's a great shout out. I forgot that's coming out in 2024 too. I'm not prepared. Then, Bramble, the Mountain King. I mean, it was good until it lost me. Right. Bramble was... I was super on board with Bramble for the first 65% of Bramble. And then it lost me. The stuff, I'm sorry, you can't do that in a Stavkirka. But, in terms of, a horror, I don't know, we'll call it cozy horror. Objectively horrific, with a bunch of stuff from Scandinavian, kind of younger Scandinavian, folklore, and really horrifyingly traumatizing a child. Culminating in just Edvard Grieg. Yeah, there's a lot actually, let's bump that up. Let's bump that up. Because I think there is enough to like here in terms of, showing all these folkloric beings that there's a lot to like. It also does a lot of weird tropey stuff of spooky paganism and, being really undecided in a way that doesn't feel good on its time period for its fairy tale kingdom. Honestly, I guess the thing... I've been trying to find the right words to describe this, and the thing I have is that the fairy tale, world space, in many ways is very Hans Christian Andersen, with supplements from, actual folklore collections, Asmundsen and Mo, some of the Danish folklore collections. Right, so there's... Or Asbjørnsen and Mo, not Asmundsen. So, right, it's this very Scandinavian folklore tradition, but then wants to be dark in a very Jakob Grimm sense. Right. But Hans Christian Andersen and the Brothers Grimm didn't write fairy tales in very similar ways. Right? Ultimately, they just... There's overlap, but they don't structure fairy tales in the same way, and they have fundamentally different tonalities. And so when you're trying to do Hans Christian Andersen but make them dark like the Brothers Grimm, it's that's spooky. Now, Hans Christian Andersen can be dark. Little match this girl. depressing as shit. Little Mermaid, objectively horrific. But so many of his other stories are way more lighthearted. And so trying to go dark, 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 in a very grim sense, grim with two M's, Brothers Grimm, doesn't feel like it hits quite right for the Scandinavian folklore collections and fairy tale milieus, and it's weird. It felt disjointed. Not bad, but disjointed. And that's why I'm like, is it there? Is it there? Ultimately, it was a game that felt like it hit the beginning really well. And it hit its... No, but actual, like, yes. But also, I feel like that should be a genre, that needs to be an actual genre term. Right? Like, there's a lot of fairy tale stories or video or fairy tale media that is grimdark, right? And that's unnecessarily limiting. That's I feel like that's unnecessarily limiting. I think we'll commit to that down there. But yeah, Bramble was one where it's really strong beginning, really fun ending. It really kind of lost me for a while in the middle, where it felt like it was somehow becoming less than the sum of its parts. And I don't know how that happened, but somehow it became less than the sum of its parts. Are there any fairy tale games that aren't grimdark, though? I'll be real curious about Nightingale. Right, if Nightingale cannot be grimdark and is just weird, that could be an example. You make a good point. You make a very good point. I mean, there's a lot of games, fairy tale games that we haven't played. Black Book. Right, several Slavic ones that we never got around to playing. Actually, a bunch of Slavic ones we never got around to playing. I don't know. There's got to be some, right? There's got to be some. But I guess I'm worried that, the two options are, like, Disney. Disney. And, Grimdark. You really love if we can circle back around to them. I would love that too. I need about 73 more days in a week to do everything I want to do. It's terrible. That being said, I will remind folks that, this is... we do have a website now with a blog. Just ludohistory.com. And so, if you played some of those games, I am currently actively, looking for more guests. So if you played some of those games and have, relevant expertise to be able to talk about, them as historical games or as folkloric games, please reach out with a pitch. I want to highlight a bunch of voices from all over the place with a blog and get coverage on things that I don't have time to stream. So if you've tried those and have thoughts, please do reach out and we can talk about how best to turn those into things. Hooray. Anyway, so those were just the 2023 games. Isn't that wild, chat? We played a lot of games this year. Like, this doesn't include Blasphemous 1. This doesn't include the AC4 Black Flag. This doesn't include Hollow Knight. This doesn't include Card Shark. This doesn't include Dragon Age. This doesn't include, like, Verdun and Tannenberg. Doesn't include Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yes, what else is coming out in 2024? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We played a lot of games this year. And there were so many more history games that came out. Exactly. There's so many games that came out. And so many interesting things. DLC for Book of Hours in 2024 too? Yay. I mean, I'm delighted. I'm glad Weather Factory is thriving with that game. I'm glad they're lovely folks. So I love that they've got stuff coming there. But yeah, we are in an absolute heyday for historical games. And I'm fully losing it, folks. I'm gonna be real. I'm not, my body is not ready. I do not have time. There's so many games. So many good games. And just think, this is just historical video games. This isn't movies, or TV shows, or books, good lord, books, or board games. There's so many historical board games. So, like, there's a lot of stuff. And a lot of potential. And yeah. Panic. Can we get a panic for my mental state going into 2024? Cause that sums it up real good. Second season of Vinland Saga came out. A panic. Cause we fully panicking in here. We're gonna zoom in on that octopus. It's gonna. Yep. That's just the state that we're in. I'm thrilled. I'm so grateful I got to do this, and I'm so excited for what's coming up. But also I am deeply panicking. On terms of how we're gonna find time to do everything. Give all the love to all the games that are gonna deserve our love in our backlog and coming up in 2024. It's literally impossible, but there's so many good history games. And so many games made by indie teams that are doing really interesting stuff that deserve our love. And I don't know how we're going to do that. But anyway, is there any plan yet for how Year of the Weeb is going to kick off? It's crystallizing. It's not crystallized yet. It's not done cooking. But it is in the oven. It is baking. And you should expect a blog post detailing all the details next week. Again, ludohistory.com for that, and also I'll announce it everywhere. Cause, yeah, we are going to be doing a super wide variety of stuff with that. We're going to be taking a look at some museum collections. We're going to be taking a look at some interactive resources. Again, University of Texas Austin is an absolute fucking lifesaver for us. And we're going to be spending a very little bit amount of time with a whole lot of games. Obviously, part of the problem is that there's a lot of big blockbuster games for specifically the Warring States period, the Sengoku period, which makes it real hard to do things right. Because I could easily spend 6 months doing Neo 1, Neo 2, AC Red, Age of Empires 2, and Sekiro. That could easily be most of the year. Crunch. So, you know, we're gonna have to not finish games. Just sleep less. We're not touching it we're not touching Rise of the Ronin when it launches. We're gonna save it before we actually get through to the Bakumatsu period. We're gonna let it go, and let it cook. But yeah, Sengoku period is the... Yes. Lady Isabel, I have nothing to add to that. That's just a true sentence. Okay, Zoe, that is lovely and appreciated. But do you understand that the, what I mentioned earlier, a potential new job, if that lands, that's going to be super disruptive, late January into February for a couple of weeks. And then, it will not be like, I can just work fewer hours. It's going to be a real job, a big boy job. My recommendation of the one fake game set in the early end of period is still on the table. Yup. I hear you. Don't worry, the one Taisho game... The Taisho game of relevance is... I mean, I appreciate it, and also you should absolutely go over to Patreon, where you can suggest your game. We also have to do, Sonic and the Black Knight, as soon as we finish Dragon Age Origins, in early January. Remember that. Remember that. Because, Ratoris, thank you. Also, we need to do Highland Song, which is Inkul's new game, and it rules. I have heard nothing but good things about it, and it is lovely. And I love the Inkul team. They are good people. And so, yeah. Oh. We want an archaeology shenanigan theme with cows and goats? True. Dig site simulator, where significant random events or cows are just gonna turn up? Way of Samurai 4 also exists. If you want to do Commodore Perry stuff, and that's true. Exactly, Rabbit. I've played so much Heaven's Vault. Heaven's Vault is one of my go-to cozy games. We played the heck out of Pendragon when it came out too. And now Highland Song. And that's just how we're in. Anyway, I didn't say, the Taisho game that I've been able to find. The one and only Taisho game that I've been able to find. Sakura Wars. And I hate that. I hate that for, my own sake. I might hate that for everyone else's sake more. So, yeah. Okay, go play. Heaven's Vault's real good. Yep, Jakista, thank you. So are we actually going to do that, or are we going to, try and have a fashion history lecture for Taisho fashion instead? As I said, a variety of content. So, yeah. What a year, huh? Not sorry to see 2023 in the rearview mirror. Not one bit. But man, were there a lot of very, very good games that came out this year. And a lot of very, very good games on the horizon. Or, in some cases, less on the horizon and more looming ominously in the middle distance. But yeah, the year overall, real bad. Turns out. Real tough year. Real tough year for the games industry. Real tough year for the historical industry. Real tough year to be alive. It's been tough. But I'm so grateful that I've gotten to meet, like, hang out here, talk history, learn stuff together, and just kind of hang out with you all. You've been an utterly lovely chat. Such cool stuff happening. Like, it's been good for me. Like, it's been a thing that keeps me going to kind of branch out, try some weird stuff, and know that y'all are, like, with it. You're here for the weird stuff. You're here for the difficult, like, the super nuanced talks, and you're here for just, like, dabbling in a whole bunch of history, and that is utterly lovely. Like, regardless of what comes next, it is utterly lovely to get to share a corner of the internet with such a lovely bunch of people. And get to like, do fun, weird stuff. In 2024, I also want to do more, like, museums and heritage stuff. Right, branch out from games and gaming a little bit, to keep talking about museums, archives, interactive exhibits, do more stuff there. Right, because you all seem to have been, like, real on board with that. I have a great time with it. It keeps my skills sharp, and that's real cool. So here's to more good things. I'm out of punch, but here's to more good things. Anywho, as you can tell by the getting sappy on main, we're coming up on the end of stream, and this is the last stream I have planned for 2023. I'm taking next week off. Right, I'm flying for the holidays on Saturday. And then there is a sort of relocation project happening in super duper early January. So we will probably be back around January 7th, would be my guess, for when we're going to be live with new layout, some new hardware, some improvements all across the board. So get hyped for some tweaks and changes around there. Hey Rain, you made it right at the end, but let me show off what we came up with. So again, these were all just the things we played that came out in 2023. Not everything we played, and not everything that came out in 2023 total, but a little bit of both. A lot of good games. Like, God, only getting one down in, like, D tier. Real good time. A lot of stuff that tried stuff that didn't quite work. A lot of stuff that's not my favorite, but also real good. A lot of real good stuff here. Yeah, we hung out. We've been hanging out. Gotta hang out with the Sasa folks and Steve and Chris and just, you know, have a bit of community, have a bit of holiday cheer. So yeah, as I was saying though, this is the last one for 2023. Well, I expect to be back around January 7th, 2024 for even more. Zoe, turns out it's actually was like half the gang. There's a whole bunch of folks who have come up in the last, or who have come onto my radar in the last 6 months, who have been doing this to very small, who have been kind of picking up steam very recently. Not folks I've necessarily gotten to meet yet, but folks like Melissa in Denial, Amateur Archaeologist, Tabanji who couldn't make it today. Turns out there are a bunch of folks kind of peeking into this space. And it's a real good time to be starting to really build community here on this Twitch.tv. But yeah, as I've been trying to say though, even though streams will not return until 2024, there will be more Ludo history content yet to come. So where's the list? Which list? The list of the tier list? Or the list of who the gang is? Tier list. You came in kind of right at the end, but you can see. Obviously, Game of the Year. Game of the Year Pentiment. Even though it came out in 2022. But Game of the Year still Pentiment. But yes. Raptors got there ahead of me. We are unfortunately just doing our wrap-ups. I've been going for 3.5 hours. I need to eat food. So, there's that. In attendance list for the gang, there's a lot of folks. But yeah. My train of thought is totally derailed. Hang on. Just do some spins. Do some spins here to calculate while my brain recalibrates. No thought, just cat. No thought, just loading. Exactly. Lady Isabel's got it. No thought, just loading screen. Look at those spins. Well, we're still loading. Wow. Wow, my brain's fried after this year. Day, week, month, century. Discord website stuff. Yes, right. Content still to come before the end of the year. Blog posts. There will be blog posts coming up. One of them will detail Year of the Weeb. We've got... And then we're gonna have one other one. I think probably giving Skull and Bones kind of beta review from a historical perspective. So we'll have blog posts coming up on that front. Tomorrow I am also recording more stuff for an edited YouTube video, because we have a YouTube channel. It's mostly a VOD repository, but I want to try and get one more edit done before the end of the year. So, keep an eye out for that. We'll see if I succeed. I make no promises, but I will make an attempt. I'll be talking more about Bramble, and Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Blasphemous 2. So if you, you know, want that, make sure you're subscribed over there, for whatever word garbage my mouth decides to say regarding that. And then, yeah, obviously the Discord is, a place you can always find us and always have history talks. So, it is absolutely a core part of the, sort of, this Ludo history thingamajig. And it is a lovely place full of really lovely people, so do that. If you want to, last thing, of course, if you want to, make my Christmas, and support the channel a little bit, subscriptions are still discounted. So, you can throw subscriptions over here, or head over to Patreon, where for just a couple of bucks a month, you can help make this continue to be possible, keep kind of paying for itself, keep letting me make upgrades, and do lots of cool stuff. But yeah. Appreciate that. I do that because we got some bots. So, but it's lovely to have you join, Raid. And hope you have a fun time there. Anyway. So, from me to all of you, Merry Christmas. Enjoy all of the emotes in all of the places you want to stream over the holidays. And thank you all so much for making 2023 what it was. Merry Chrysler. Happy holidays. However way you want to do that. Gleithe Lecture for the any Icelanders around. Merry Christ. No, wait. If the crises could stop, if we could have fewer crises, that would be cool. That's my Christmas wish. Fewer crises in 2024. But yeah. That does it for me, to all of you. So thank you all. Thank you all, of course, for all of the support over the stream and the hype trains. And again, until I see you in 2024 on the flip side. Farewell? Farewell for now. See you later. And of course, thank you once again to all of our patrons listed on the side of the stream here. Additionally, we'll see if this rolls. Well, the credits are not rolling, so we'll catch up on alerts the old-fashioned way. Thank you to Sid of Raid, Dog Life 5, Bjorn Schneider, Asher's Orchard, Amelia Maria, and Ray Wadden for the follows. Thank you to KJ for giving out a community sub, Faith for the 1,000 bits, Wolfie for the gift subs, Faith for more gift subs, this dude for gift subs, Carl Pigeon for the 6 months in advance of tier 1 sub, and Mountain Astray again for that Prime subscription. It is super duper appreciated. And once again, to one and all, very, very happy holidays.